Zoning Board of Appeals ready. I'm Candace Breyer, Chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Zoning Board of Appeals is a 9-person volunteer board nominated by the mayor and approved by the city council. First, we will hear from Planning Services, represented tonight by John Barrett. Then the applicant or their representative will make their presentation. Applicants will have 5 minutes in which to make their presentation. Staff will keep time and will announce when 30 seconds are remaining. Public comment is available in person or remotely. We will first call on individuals present to address the board, then remote participants. To speak during a public hearing or during public comment remotely, press star 9 if listening by phone, or use the raise hand feature if viewing through the web link. For phone access, call 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 938-1648-1007. City staff will select callers that have raised their hand using the last 3 digits of their phone number or by name if available for those accessing through the web link. You will hear an automated announcement when the host is allowing you to speak. When speaking, please move to a quiet area and mute any television or background sounds. We may ask questions of either the city or the applicant. We will acknowledge any written comments received by the board. We will allow an appearing party to express their support or objections. The board will then discuss the appeal and formulate a motion to approve the appeal. 5 affirmative votes of the board will be required for an appeal to be granted. Finally, any qualified party who is aggrieved by a decision of the board can appeal that decision to the Washtenaw County Circuit Court on a timely basis. Roll call. Candace Breyer, I am here. Todd Grant.
I am here.
Dave DeVarty.
DeVarty here.
Chris Madigan. Sadira Clark. Grace Whitney. Here. Mike Daniel.
Here.
Dharma Ekman.
Here.
Christina Glusak. Here. We have a quorum. Moving on to approval of the agenda. I will note quickly that I will need to recuse myself from petition ZBA 24-0013 3050 Lakeview Drive. So Todd will take over for that one. Otherwise, are there any questions, comments on the agenda? Not Drive.
I was going to say I'll move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Grace.
Support.
Thank you, Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to approval of minutes. We have minutes from the March 27th, 2024 ZBA meeting. Are there any questions, comments, corrections to those minutes?
Looks good. I move we accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Thank you, Dave.
Support.
Thank you, Grace. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right. Moving on to public hearings. First petition tonight, we have ZBA 24-0010 216 North State Street. John?
Okay, I'm John Barrett, zoning coordinator for the city of Ann Arbor, and I want to thank everybody for their patience and understanding this evening for this alternate location in the basement. It's not ideal, but it's what we are faced with, and normally we're in the council chambers, but unfortunately that's going through some technology upgrades, so tonight we're here in the basement. So I thank you all for showing understanding. Scott Clausen, representing the property owner, is requesting relief from section 5.32.2, non-conforming structure, to create new habitable space in the basement for a 3-bedroom unit. The existing non-conforming rental home is a 7-unit building that is being reduced to 4 units. 3 of the units will be converted to 6-bedroom units and the proposed 3-bedroom unit in the basement. The property is non-conforming for lot area and the rear yard setback. The property is zoned R4C multiple family dwelling district. The subject property is located on the southeast corner at the intersection of North State Street and Catherine Street in the Old 4th Ward Historic District. The large 2-story house is listed in the 1868 City Directory as 16 North State, the home of Stephen Webster of Miller and Webster Bank, established in 1855. The lot area is 7,622 square feet in area. The existing structure has 3 efficiency units and 4 one-bedroom units. The structure is certified for 11 occupants currently. The proposed renovations will reduce the number of units from 7 to 4. The total number of bedrooms will increase to 21 bedrooms. There are no proposed exterior changes to the building except for basement window wells, egress window wells. The property received HDC approval for the new window wells on Thursday, March 14th. If you will turn your attention to the screen, you see the subject property highlighted in blue in the center at the intersection of North State and Catherine Street. That's the zoning map. surrounding properties are all zoned R4C. This is the area map showing surrounding properties and existing conditions. And then this is the zoomed in aerial photo of the subject property. Next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application by the applicant. And the next slide shows a new proposed first floor with the 6 bedrooms, a new second floor with 6 bedrooms, and a new third floor with 6 bedrooms. And then this is the newly proposed habitable space in the basement for a 3-bedroom unit in the basement. These are the existing conditions of the property currently. Like I said, there's 3 efficiencies and 4 1-bedrooms currently. It's the second floor, the third floor, and the existing basement with no habitable space. These are the photos that I took at my inspection at the property. You see the front of it. My back is facing North State Street. It's the front entrance of the home. This is the south entrance, south elevation of the home. That's the north elevation along Catherine. And this is the backyard of the property, the driveway, and you see the old 1-car garage as well. Just a different view of the back of the house looking out towards Catherine and North State Street. And that is the end of my presentation, and I'll take any questions that the board may have at this time.
John, any questions? Todd?
I assume going to 22 occupants is
21.
fine? 21 occupants is fine, otherwise he wouldn't be here, correct?
Yes, since it's zoned R4C, each unit can have up to 6 unrelated persons.
Any other questions for John? All right, if the petitioner is here, please come forward, sign in, state your name for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
Sit down. Hi, my name is Scott Clausen. I'm here for 216 North State. And John did a good job explaining what's going on over there. We already have a building permit for the first 3 floors to improve this property, to create more, basically more bedrooms where space is needed in Ann Arbor. This is a student area, high-density area, a lot of student rentals around here. And while we're doing this, we have a basement that is basically not utilized. We're obviously staying within the footprint. We're not expanding anything. We're adding 3 egress windows, which are 2 of them are on the side and 1 of them is in the driveway. So they're not really able to be seen from the road, and they don't take away from the historical aspects of the house. By getting this appeal, it just allows us to better utilize existing space, and it's a benefit to the neighborhood and Ann Arbor in general. We also improve all the mechanical, the electrical, the plumbing, all that stuff is brand new, plus this building will have fire suppression when it's done. So, if you have any questions?
Thank you. Questions, Dave?
How many existing parking places are there?
So there's parking on the side, and there's also a driveway. It's kind of got a 2-track on the side that's been there forever, and a driveway, so there's probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 spots.
And that'll stay the same?
That'll stay the same, yeah.
Now, the parking on the side, it looked like that was within the setback.
It's an old, it's this right here, Dave.
Yeah.
It's 2-track, yeah. It's been there for 50 years. I've seen it on the aerial photos.
I understand.
It's old and non-conforming, yeah.
And I'm in favor of allowing parking there. But I actually have a tenant who has gotten ticketed for parking in a driveway and having his car in front of the, I mean, he's in the driveway, but it extends in front of the front porch and over there on Dewey Street. And meanwhile, I walk around the neighborhood and notice at Mayor Taylor's house, sometimes there's a car parked in the setback area, and I doubt he's gotten a ticket, although I've yet to ask him. And it's just something that aggravates me. And Dharma, you're familiar with this, of course. So I just raise it. And it's fine with me if they park there.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Okay, thank you very much. If there's anyone from the public to speak on this petition, now's your chance. If there's anyone here, please come forward. If there's anyone accessing remotely, please press star 9 or use the raise hand button.
You guys don't have audio working, just so you know.
Yeah, we know. There's nothing I can do about it.
Alright, I'm just commenting because she
Yeah.
asked for people to say something that they don't hear.
I need a sign to hold up. I'm gonna,
What's not working?
the audio is apparently not working on it.
Oh.
I'm going to try to promote the caller and see if we can.
Come on, Zoom.
Hi, Paul Dieters, can you hear us? Paul Dieters? Can you hear us?
I could hear him for a second.
Oh, I could hear him, he couldn't hear us.
Can't hear
Oh.
us.
The callers can't hear us. We
It
just,
should be on, the because Zoom is not working too damn
we
properly.
just need to move on. I'm not 30 minutes.
Yeah, but YouTube should be working.
I'm not worried about Zoom calls. I'm really not. Nothing I can do about it.
If it was that important, it would
You'd be here, right? So that's just how I have to move forward. I have no choice.
Right, the initials, thanks.
Let's see what Courtney comes back with. And in the meantime, I do not believe we received any correspondence on this petition. I will note, though, at last month's meeting, we did have someone from the audience that spoke, I think, against this petition. Am I remembering correctly? Yeah.
Has it been the meeting?
But I did not see anything in this month's request.
Well, CCN broadcast is working, supposed to be. So if he can watch TV and do a Zoom, that probably will work. Or YouTube,
Yeah,
because without the device to connect to the Zoom directly.
We're going to take a quick break. Marcus is going to remote into the computer. He's on the road right now. He said he can remote into the computer and fix that issue. Or do you want to keep going?
I won't take a mistake.
Do you have another way to communicate with the person? Because we can hear him if he can speak.
I don't believe I
If
have
there's not a way to tell him, yeah, we can hear you.
because of, I think because of our settings, it's not like we have a chat.
Right.
Where I could, chat.
Right.
Even a full agenda, I think we should keep going.
Just,
It concerns me, though, that someone wants to make a comment and
They
can't.
could have got their butt down.
Yeah, but we advertise it, they can remote.
True. I don't look at it as a,
Do you
this
want
is a
Marcus
quite
to-
an easy standard. I don't know that it's,
Do you want Marcus to remote in?
If he can, yeah, but like, for the next case, but I want him to keep moving on with this one.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure the people that have their hands raised are future presenters, because I'm recognizing the names.
Yeah, it's a problem for representative.
If they're presenting, they should get down here.
You could announce that.
I don't understand, because it
They
was working
can't hear
before the
us.
meeting started.
I know.
Oh, so they could hear us on YouTube. now.
Right,
Zoom's
They
not
can't
working.
hear us
on
through
YouTube.
Zoom.
Great.
Isn't technology great?
If I do this,
My quick hip reaction is not we should keep moving. If people can't call in, that's one thing, but if a presenter can't present, then it should probably be
Postponed. Yep.
I agree with that. That's where I would draw the line.
Paul Dieters, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Okay,
The audio just came on.
okay. And you're not commenting on this item, correct? You're presenting?
That is correct.
Okay.
Nothing in case, I just want to make sure we don't hear any of the proceedings.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to put you back on mute now.
He's not going to be able to hear us ask questions.
Will I still be able to hear anything?
We're trying to figure that out.
Oh, very good.
Thank you.
Is there any way he could get here?
So no one,
So there's no one to speak on this petition? Everyone that has their hand raised is a
As far as I'm
presenter for
understanding.
potential-
okay.
for-
Yeah, okay, so good.
Okay.
So I'm
So
ready
with
to
that,
make a
the public
motion.
hearing is closed and we're in discussion.
I'm ready to make a motion, or do we discuss first?
Is there discussion? Anyone have
Well,
discussion?
I'll just put in a very brief comment. I thought Mr. Clausen did a very good job, and I'm always happy to hear when there are a lot of people in the building that they're upgrading and adding fire suppression equipment. That's really nice.
Dave?
Okay, ZBA 24-0010, 216 North State Street, alteration to a non-conforming structure. The zoning board of appeals hereby grants relief from section 5.32.2, alteration to a non-conforming structure to allow construction of new habitable space in the basement. The residence is an existing 7-unit rental home that will be reduced to 4 units after the proposed interior alterations. The basement alteration is to be built per the submitted plans.
Support. Motion from Dave, support from Grace. Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
DeVarty, yes.
Christina?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Grace? Yes. I also vote yes. Dharma?
Yes.
The request is granted. Moving on to petition ZBA 24-0016, 1294 Jewett Avenue. John?
Jeffrey Wines, property owner, is seeking a variance of 63 square feet from Chapter 55, Table 5.17-1, Single-Family Residential Zoning Districts, Lot Area Minimum. The property is zoned R1B, Single-Family Residential, and is 19,937 square feet in size. Parcels in the R1B district require a minimum lot area of 10,000 square feet. The variance, if granted, will allow for approval of a land division and the creation of one 9,937 square foot parcel and one 10,000 square foot parcel. The subject property is located on the south side of Jewett Avenue, directly across the street from the Lara Private Day School. There is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 882 square foot home on the property currently. That home was constructed in 1920. The owner has stated the existing home will remain, and there are plans to construct a new primary residence on the newly created lot to the rear. The existing detached garage will be demolished to accommodate the required 30-foot access easement to the newly created parcel. If you'll turn your attention to the screen, you see the first map, which is the zoning map. You see the highlighted parcel in the center of your screen on the south side of Jewett, and South Industrial to the west, and Packard Road to the east. All the surrounding properties are zoned R1B in this sector, and then R1D to the south. The next slide shows the area map surrounding properties and existing conditions. And the next slide shows the existing zoomed-in parcel and how it currently exists. And that's the existing home that I talked about in the adjacent garage. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application. It's a 19,937 square foot parcel, 0.458 acres. This is the site plan or the proposed survey for the land division showing the newly created property line, the demolishing of the existing garage, and a 30-foot wide access easement to access a newly created parcel in the back. Parcel A, parcel B. This one is parcel A, which is the one which is the variance request for the 63 square feet. This is a conceptual design of what the homeowners intend to build, something similar to this if the variance is granted. These are the photos I took when I visited the property. You see the existing current home and the garage adjacent. This is looking directly all the way down the back of the property, the rear yard, which would be parcel B. And this is looking back towards the front of the lot, towards the front of Jewett and the back of the home, parcel A. Adjacent property to the east and adjacent property to the west. That is all I have at this time. I will take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, John. Grace?
Can I just ask what's the difference between this and the request we saw last time? Because don't they have to wait a certain amount of time?
There's no required waiting period. It just has to have different circumstances to the case. And the fact that we have a more personnel, more people for a quorum is the extenuating circumstance this time.
Okay. And
Instead of 5, now we have 7.
I just am wondering, have you discussed that at all, like the city attorney and stuff? I just want to make sure that we're
Yep, it's
on good ground to re-review everything.
If you guys don't think that's a good enough reason, you could always vote on it, but.
I've got a different question.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave, go ahead.
What's the frontage along Jewett of these lots? Do you know how wide the lots are?
I believe that's 80 feet? 72.5.
So in effect, we're talking about taking 1 foot off across the width of the second parcel? Not less than 1 foot?
Less than that, probably approximately 10 inches.
10 inches, okay. I mean, it seems to me, thank you for the answer.
Any other questions for John? All right, if the petitioner's here, if you'd like to come forward, state your name for the record, sign in, you'll have 5 minutes.
So thanks for the opportunity to rehear. As John mentioned, there were only 5 board members in attendance last time we were here, and 4 voted in favor, 1 did not. Wanted to, we didn't have enough time, right, to really discuss it, and therefore we're not informed to make the right decision.
If we wanted to postpone or not.
Right,
we didn't have very much time to make the decision.
So, it's obviously, or presumably not the spirit or intent of the board to, have one board member veto 80% of the remaining members of the board. So that's on the rehearing. As far as the request itself, again, it's quite minimal. And to put it in perspective, I mean, we're talking about 3 inches on both sides of the lot, which kind of meet the requirement here. From what we understand, it's in line with the agenda of the city as far as increasing housing density and And so we want to certainly support that, and obviously, you know, we want to build our home. So, yeah, appreciate the consideration on this. Okay, I guess I need to say one more thing. Okay, so you know, if you look at the kind of the parcels, how they're laid out currently, you've got, you know, a split on the side, one side, and then on the other side, two houses down, you also have a split. And one of those is actually 9,600 square feet, which is significantly less than what we're requesting. So you can see it right there with the...
So two lots to the, or yeah, 3 lots to the right is a small lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some precedent.
And then the 2 lots on the other side are both doing the split idea that we're trying to do. And they've, John showed a picture, they've built the first house on the front part of the lot, and they're about to start building the second house on the back part of the lot. So there'll be 3 lots in a row with a similar theme.
And I think we covered everything, so any questions for us?
Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you. If there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this petition, now's your chance. If you are here in person, please come forward. If you're accessing remotely and you can hear us, please press *9 or use the raise hand button.
I believe there are no calls.
All right, thank you, Courtney. With that, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. David.
I thought previously Dharma made an excellent point that this is in keeping with what's going on in the neighborhood and also in keeping with the zoning, which requires essentially 10,000 square feet per lot, not 20,000 square feet per lot for single-family homes. And this is so close to 10,000 square feet that I think it warrants the variance in this case. And the fact that there are adjacent parcels that are essentially going through similar splits and providing additional housing in the neighborhood, I think this is totally in keeping with what's going on in that neighborhood, and it's in keeping with the intent of our zoning code.
Yeah, I agree with Dave, and I voted in favor of this the previous meeting. I think that it meets what the spirit of the ordinance is. I just question if the having more people is an extenuating circumstance, because we did say at the beginning of the previous meeting. So I'm just interested to know how other people feel regarding that. I'm in favor of the variance itself. I just am not 100% sure that I feel that it's an extenuating circumstance, because we do say at the beginning of the meeting that you do need 5 votes to get approval.
I'm comfortable with the assessment, staff's assessment, that it's an extenuating circumstance.
Mike?
They pay another fee?
Yes.
Good enough for me.
I do want to point out that at the last meeting, there was a lot of, this was the first thing that came up, and you know, these are not people that come before us. Like some petitioners come before us meeting after meeting, and there were several petitioners that, given what transpired at this first hearing at the last meeting, just withdrew and said, take us off the agenda. And I just feel that this current petitioner was not afforded the opportunity to make a fair decision, like a fair opportunity to make that same decision. And now they've paid another fee in order to come before us additionally. And if it was not in keeping with the spirit of the existing zoning code, I would feel differently. But I feel like it's just, it doesn't make sense to me to have something so out of line with what else is going on in the neighborhood.
The ordinance says the application for a rehearing shall be denied by the ZBA if the applicant is unable to present evidence to show that there has been a substantial change in facts, circumstances, or scope or nature of relief requested.
And I would say that circumstances have changed substantially.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Todd, did you have a comment?
I think we're picking up on what Grace and Dave said. The phrase that comes to mind is the fancy legal phrase, de minimis. This is just a very tiny little bit. We're talking being short 10,000 square feet, a little over 0.6%, that really is nothing. And I note that in the comments, that the public information that the property purchaser had indicated that it did meet the 20,000 square feet. So I've always looked at a land survey as the gold standard, but apparently an earlier land survey indicated a different amount. But in any case, 63 feet to me is nothing. I'm going to be voting in favor of this. I think it's great. I drove by the property yesterday. It's a big spot in the back for them to add a house. And I think Grace, you indicated, and Dharma, we're trying to increase density. I think this is sort of a no-brainer. I'll be voting yes.
I can make a motion if.
Yeah, any other discussion? You ready for a motion? Thank you, Dave.
ZBA 24-000, hold it, this is wrong. What's the number, what should the number be?
0016, 24-0016.
Okay, oh, that's right. 1294 Jewett Avenue. Based on the following findings and in accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a 63 square foot variance from Chapter 55 lot area minimum of Table 5.17-1, Single Family Residential Zoning District. The variance applies to the forward-facing lot adjacent to Jewett Avenue. A variance of 63 square feet is required to complete the proposed land division.
Thank you, Dave. Do I have support? I'll support. Thank you, Grace. I vote yes. Dharma?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
Divided, yes.
Christina?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Grace? Yes. The request is granted. Moving on to petition ZBA 24-0006, 618 Stratford Drive. John?
Tony Wheels, property owner, is seeking a variance from section 5.26.2, subsection A1, fencing standards to allow an 8-foot tall, 100% opaque fence in the front yard along Hill Street and Avon Road. The maximum allowed fence height and opacity in the front yard is 4 feet tall and 50% opaque for a residential district. The property is zoned R1D, single-family residential. The subject property is located at the southeast corner of the Hill Street and Avon Road intersection in the Angel neighborhood. The home was built in 1950 and is approximately 2,804 square feet in size. The lot comprises 18,730 square feet in area. The subject property fronts along Hill Street, Avon Road, and Stratford Drive. The property has 3 front yards and 1 side yard. The property does not have a rear yard based on zoning definitions for yards. The fence is projected to be 8 feet tall and 100% opaque along the Hill Street side of the property and a small portion of Avon Road. The applicant is requesting to construct a privacy fence that will exceed the allowable height requirement by 4 feet and the opacity maximum by 50%. The fence adjacent to the neighbors to the east is proposed to be 6 feet tall and 100% opaque. That section will require a 2-foot height and 50% opacity variance. If you'll turn your attention to the screen, you see the subject property highlighted in blue at the center of your screen. You see Stratford Drive, Avon, and Hill right here. The next slide is the area map showing surrounding properties and existing conditions. And the next slide is the zoomed in aerial photo. Front of the house, like I said, is fronting along Stratford. You have Avon right here, and it joins in with Hill Street. And so, they, like I stated in the staff report, they don't have a rear yard because any yard that fronts along a public right-of-way is considered a front yard in Ann Arbor. So they have all this as front yard, and then this is more front yard, and then this would be their side yard. This is the survey that was submitted with the application of the property. This is a site plan showing of the property, existing conditions. And this is the proposed fence. You see proposed 6-foot fence along the east property line, which they call the side yard. You see it's in quotations. Much of it is the front because it's based on the position of the house, but this whole fence, this whole blue line right here depicts the 6-foot tall fence 100% along here, and then an 8-foot fence along this section of the yard and connecting into the driveway in the house, or the garage. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a elevation of what the privacy fence will look like, submitted by the applicant. You see it's 8 feet tall, 6-foot panels, backyard fence, 100% opacity, with 6x6 posts. I love teams. These are the photos I took in my inspection. You see the front of the house, that's facing Stratford Drive and the circular driveway. This is looking down the sidewalk towards Avon Road and the connection of Hill Street. And you see the stakes, the property markers, survey stakes. Looking along Avon and the connection of Hill, driveway, more survey stakes. You see the existing vegetation, current conditions. This is looking up the driveway to this outside elevation of the home. I am standing at the corner of Avon Hill with my back to the street, looking at the backyard of the property. Gives you a good perspective of, I'm on the sidewalk area and what the yard looks like, the existing conditions. More of the same. You see the intersection. That's looking at the garage, or the driveway in the garage. And I'm in the backyard looking down towards Hill Street, and you see the neighboring property across the street. This is the fence line that's existing between the subject property and the neighboring property, and this is where the 6-foot tall fence is proposed to be. These are photos that were submitted by the applicant, and shows what it looks like in the summertime with vegetation. Mine were obviously in the wintertime with no foliage. Give you a perspective of what it looks like during the summertime. The fence will be behind this screening. And I'm going to let the applicant discuss, these are their slides. So that's the end of my presentation, and I will take any questions that you may have at this time.
Thanks, John. Chris, what's the height requirement for fences like in an actual rear yard?
So there's 2 sets of fences heights for residential. With a zoning permit, you can have a 7-foot tall fence. If you obtain a building permit, you can get an 8-foot tall fence, maximum height. Any fence in the state of Michigan requires, per the state of Michigan building code, over 7 feet requires a building permit.
Okay.
Because at that point, you have to have 42-inch deep footings.
Okay. Got it.
So the really two requests, one is to exceed the 4-foot maximum height on the side yard for 6 feet, and then along Hill.
50% opacity.
Correct, and 8 feet on Hill Street.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions for John? All right. You want to state your name for the record?
Yeah.
Signing, you'll have 5 minutes.
Yeah, Brandon Bertrang. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me this evening. Essentially, obviously, as John mentioned, we have no front, or there's no rear yard, so it's impossible to build a fence. The purpose generally of these ZBAs is obviously to figure out how a permitted use structure, such as having a fence, can be used by homeowners in ways that's not compliant. So, for example, Most people are allowed to have backyard fences. This neighborhood, in the way that the ordinance is written, or this property, cannot. So we're here to figure out how we can achieve what everyone else can do, which is a permitted use structure, with the way that the ordinance is written. And so we're trying to figure that out, obviously, with your guys' help. So, a couple things to point out, in the nature of the ordinance. These ordinances pretty much throughout the state, when they view these front yards as multiple front yards, it's to preserve the neighborhood. It's for, a lot of times for right-of-ways for roads, to make sure there's no obstructions. So it's important to make sure that, the aesthetic is maintained, which is why they write in that anytime there's a street facing, any part of the home that's facing a street, you use the front yard. So I think that the extraordinary circumstances in this case are that it is heavily wooded. Obviously, in some of these pictures here, there's foliage that's lost during the winter, but it is something that the view's obstructed as is by natural foliage. So I don't think that there's any further hindrance from that. And I think it would be granting the applicants basically the same substantial justice that any other property owner would have if they didn't have 3 front yards. I think it meets all criteria that the board seeks from substantial justice, extraordinary circumstances. It's not going to cause any issue with the neighbors. In fact, all of the neighbors have supported it. So because I feel we've met all 4 criteria, I'd ask the board to approve the request for the variance.
Thank you. Questions? Christina?
Yeah. What are the practical difficulties for the fence on the side lot? I see a statement here regarding the fence facing hill that's behind some landscape, so it's street, some lawn, landscape, and then a fence.
The practical difficulty is really the uniqueness shape of the lot. So because it's angled, you're still getting a lot, and we had a sound engineer come out to measure and do a bunch of tests and everything, but it's really the angle of the lot, the way that the lot's positioned on that corner, because it's still absorbing a ton of sound from the road, and really the intent of this is to try to block out sound. But if you were to look at that view, that's really the main issue, is the angle on the lot.
But the variance would extend the entire lot width from Hill to Avon?
The variance would allow to build a fence in what, for all practical purposes, is a backyard. And I understand the zoning ordinance views it differently, but it is a backyard. And when you view these pictures, this is what you see. So again, I understand the difference in definition versus what's here, but I'd ask the board to look at it in practical manners.
Seems like yeah, I understand.
David, I have a question.
Have you considered, I note that the foliage is there already as screening, not in the winter, but have you considered evergreen foliage?
Arborvitae, yeah, and actually it's...
Which would provide you that screening and be compliant with the...
We intend to do both.
So you are going to do the arborvitae?
We plan to do the arborvitae as well. The problem is the arborvitae, per the sound engineer that we retain, is not going to be, like, there's not really an R value factor for the decibels that it's going to absorb. So the sound still, it's not going to achieve the goal of reducing the sound, but we would have arborvitae, and that would provide permanent foliage as well.
Mr. Wall, right?
Yep.
How long have you been in the home?
I'm not Tony, I'm Brandon. I'm here on his behalf.
Oh, is he?
But he's called in. Tony, if you can hear, how long have you been in the home?
Tony Weil, can you hear us?
Just barely. We've owned the home for 5 years,
Okay.
2019.
Thank you, sir. So it sounds like you've had some sound studies done, you alluded to
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
So what you're really saying is it's not a visual barrier, but you want a sound barrier.
There's multiple factors for it, but the impetus that...
Can I finish my question,
Yes,
please?
sorry.
You're saying it's a sound barrier, I think. And what you're maintaining is that a 4-foot opaque fence wouldn't be anywhere near the amount of sound isolation that an 8-foot fence would provide.
Correct.
Do you have any data to back that up?
We do. I believe
I've not seen it.
we submitted it.
You also say that neighbors have sent their support. I've not seen any letters.
They were all submitted.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, everyone.
Okay.
It was all submitted.
I didn't see it.
You know,
Again, we're asking that you view it as what it is. It's a backyard. I understand the
so
ordinance.
that's not my problem. The problem I have is an 8-foot opaque fence is ugly. People won't see it because you've already got the big bushes that provide a visual barrier. And the only assertion you really have about noise, which is correct that Hill Street can be noisy during rush hour, particularly at the end of the day for U of M. But this is an extremely nice neighborhood. I imagine the windows are incredible. If somebody were to shoot firecrackers off the foot of your driveway, you wouldn't hear them. I'm just not convinced that there's an essential noise problem that requires the installation of an 8-foot ugly fence.
Well, I would say that there's several neighbors that have 8-foot fences.
You need to convince me that somehow 8 foot is going to do it where 4 foot wouldn't. And that doesn't even count the fact that it would be a 4-foot opaque fence.
Well, the 8-foot fence, again, several neighbors in the immediate area have the same size fence.
It doesn't matter what the neighbors do. What you're telling me is that the homeowner needs 8 feet for noise isolation.
Correct. That's not my decision, that's from the engineer.
Sir, I understand it's not you. I'm just saying you have the burden of convincing me of that.
Well, we submitted data from a sound engineer, so if you didn't review that or wasn't provided for you, I apologize, but we did submit the data.
You've got a big visual, there's no doubt, but you have a big visual barrier once all those trees are in bloom, all those bushes are in bloom.
We conditionally do it with, the evergreens too. Like if the board's willing to grant a conditional approval based on evergreens, which are obviously going to have their foliage year-round, I think that achieves.
Sir, I don't think there's any law about not being able to plant a tree.
No, I know. I was saying conditional approval because there isn't a law against being able to plant trees.
Right.
That's what I was, we're trying to work with you here.
I'm just...
Christina, did you have another question?
Sort of, or an observation. So there's no sidewalk on that Hill Street. The sidewalk just dies at the driveway, right? So it's a unique lot, and that affords you the ability, the owner, to plant trees closer. There's probably a setback actually for additional
line of sight.
Landscape.
Yeah.
No, just as a sound buffer closer to the curb because there is no sidewalk there. What do others think about that?
We'll save that for the debate portion, right? Like we're not actually
Yeah,
debating
that's
with
true.
ourselves
Right.
right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak, please come forward, state your name for the record, sign in.
Do I sign in?
Yeah, you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm Janet Thornburg, and I'm a neighbor, and I have not sent a letter, so I'm here in person. I'm at 500 Burson Place, which is around the corner, and I walk or drive past this area daily, and I think an 8-foot fence would be really ugly and totally out of character with this neighborhood. Although the resident and his representative have said that there are other neighbors that have such fences. The only example I can think of is a resident over by Hill and Onondaga, and he's put it in his backyard within the last 6 months, and it is horrendously ugly and totally out of character with our neighborhood. And so I would say the vast majority of people in this neighborhood do not have fences or else have very low ones, and it's a big part of the beauty of this neighborhood that people share their greenery. And so I would be very disappointed to see this fence go in. I do like the idea of evergreens to give them more privacy because 6 months out of the year, they do not have that foliage to give them privacy. It's just, as you saw in the pictures. So Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak on this petition? All right, if there's anyone remotely that would like to speak, now's your chance. Please press star 9 or raise your hand.
There are no callers.
Thank you, Courtney. I will note we did receive letters of support from, I believe, 5 of the neighbors. John Clem, Melissa Hoffman, Jeremy Nelson, Robert Gilman, and William Trichet.
Okay.
I don't think,
I didn't see it.
they were in the link online, I think,
They were in the
various
register.
correspondence.
At least in that yesterday. So you've got support from me.
Yes, there are 5 that I counted letters of support from neighbors.
Okay.
So with that said, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. Mike?
Do you have the address?
Grace was
Oh,
up
no,
there.
you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Just, this stretch of hill is 25 miles an hour, right? The
Yes.
speed limit?
I think so.
I believe so, just
Yeah.
from having driven it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. it
Right,
is.
so I would have a bit more sympathy if this were Washtenaw or a faster thoroughfare. To me, I just think I'm not hearing a lot of compelling need for uniqueness. I mean, Hill runs a long way, and there's a lot of houses up and down Hill that I'm guessing are in similar boats that butt up against the side streets coming into it, and 8 feet, to me, it would be like make it seem like a compound to me if I'm driving by it. That's not the vibe of the neighborhood, so I'm going to be voting against this.
Grace?
Yeah, I understand most of the criteria. Like, I definitely can see why this is a really challenging lot. The thing that I'm not really convinced of is that this is the minimum variance necessary. That's the criteria that I'm kind of stuck on, and I don't know if, stuff from the sound engineer might make a difference. So I don't know if people want to consider maybe postponing it until we have that in front of us, that might convince people that this is the minimum necessary, but as it sits, I'm stuck on that criteria, so as is, I don't think I'll support this.
Yeah, I just have questions about line of sight, considering it's on a corner. I mean, I understand the challenge with not really having any backyard and having to somewhat define it yourself, but I'm worried about the height of the fence, the opacity, and the ability to see people that are walking or riding a bike along that corner. I wondered if staff has any kind of perspective on that. Did you catch what I said? Sorry.
As far as if it's going to block vision,
Yeah, I mean, that's just very high on a corner where there's people driving, biking, walking. I know there's not a sidewalk, but people presumably walk in the neighborhood, and I'm just...
For sure, biking.
It seems like it would be hard to see around that corner with such a high fence with no
but if the
opacity.
fence is behind,
Oh, it's behind the
it's going to
vegetation.
be back here.
Okay. Got it.
So, keep talking out of turn.
Dave, did you?
I can defer, but I do want to say something. So 2 things. Taking up on Mike's comment that it is a fairly slow speed limit along here, I also want to note that it's also a regular spot that police post up to get stop sign rollers there at Hill and Avon. So I make sure I always stop at that stop sign to a full stop. And I'm confident that people that are familiar with that are also pretty aware that they might get pulled over for violating speed limits. And definitely on Getty's, I've seen people pulled over, and Getty's is just around the corner from here, for speed limit violations. So anybody that's driving through here is aware to keep their speed down, stop at the stop signs, and otherwise they're boosting the city's revenue. I do walk and drive in this neighborhood, and I have to say, with the person who spoke, there aren't a lot of these big 8-foot signs in front of houses, and that's one of the beautiful things about this neighborhood. And I find it really disruptive to the character of the neighborhood, and totally counter to why people choose to live there, why people choose to walk there, as I do, and I will be voting against it.
Christine?
Yeah, just picking up on my comment during the question part of the presentation. So I was just thinking, since there's no sidewalk, it's actually a very unique lot, right? So it allows the homeowner a little bit more area to plant additional vegetation. That's just my take on that corner lot, so it just gives them another opportunity. And it does seem dense, what they have existing in terms of the vegetation. And I'm a huge advocate for maintaining the character of the neighborhood. From the neighbor had shared, what Dave had just shared, and others, that it would just be an eyesore as you're going downhill towards Getty's Ave. It just wouldn't be in character for the rest of the unique neighborhood. So I'm definitely not in support of this variance.
John, I have a couple questions.
Okay. So, go ahead.
What is the required front setback? Do you know? I didn't see it shown on any of the drawings.
The district calls for a 30-foot front setback. Which setback are you concerned about?
The front,
On Long
what's
Hill?
the front? Yeah, any of the front.
It's gonna
They'd
be-
all be the same, right?
Nope, so along here, it's along Avon, since there's no other homes to average it on this side of the street, it would be the district average of 30 feet,
Okay.
which it's probably really close. And along here, it's 40 feet.
Okay. And as far as the fence goes, it's within the front setback? It can't be above?
It's as long as it's in the front yard, not setback yard.
Okay.
Which
So it
is
wouldn't matter
established in the
how
house
far back
footprint.
they put the fence,
Correct.
it still can't be higher
Correct.
than 4 feet?
Anywhere between the back elevation of the home and towards the front property line. It can only be 4 feet tall, 50% opaque.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
I will say, the sound report was, it was emailed to me, it wasn't in my Energo, and so I apologize for that, but normally these things are uploaded and I get a million emails a day, so if you want, I can read a little bit of it. It's a 9-page report, but,
I don't think it's going to make any difference in how we're going to
well,
vote.
I just want
Is there a summary part to the report?
analysis, summary, and findings, yes.
I mean,
Is that less
unless you're reading the whole
pages?
report, I don't think you should be picking and choosing.
Unless there's just
Part
a
of it gets
high-level
read.
summary.
It's not gonna make a difference for me.
Can I
Yeah,
comment?
Tom.
Maybe this will short circuit you, John. I'll also be voting against this. In my opinion, this is the nicest neighborhood in the city. Sorry, David, Burns Park would be number 2, it's going to have to try harder. But it doesn't come close to meeting some of the criteria. I'll note that number 2, practical difficulty, a little bit of noise, a car zipping at 25 and 30 miles an hour on Hill Street at rush hour is, in my opinion, mere inconvenience. And number 3, the rights of others in the neighborhood. This is really an elegant neighborhood, it's green, the properties tend to be immaculate, and even properties that are immaculate get whacked and they build something even bigger and better than it was before. So they can build a 4-foot, 50% opaque fence if they want. They obviously have kids because of the equipment in the background. There's no indication about safety. I just don't see a noise as being a problem. I would also, somewhat relevant, echo Dave that the most notorious speed trap in the city is this stretch along Getty's, where it goes from 25 to 30 and then 25. I'd like to know how many tickets the city of Ann Arbor has written on that.
And it's downhill, so you coast at 30.
Yeah, it really is stunning. The city, and Dharma, I guess I'm putting the city ought to clean up the speed limit here. The other one that's really disgusting is zipping down Plymouth to downtown. There's a whole stretch with no driveways or anything, and it's 35. People go 45 all the time, or maybe 30. That also is way underdone. But, you know, it provides revenue for the city of Livingston, so I understand.
We're gonna vote
I have
no.
never got
Let's get this guy out of here.
this
He doesn't have to listen to
this. But when I write these things, I'm thinking, this is just absurd. I realize it has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Any other
I'm not going to be
discussion?
voting for
Are you
it.
ready for a motion?
Just want to go on record as saying I believe in slow speed limits to our city, so that people don't get seriously injured.
I don't believe in dropping it, and then re-increasing it, and then changing it.
Sure, drop it all.
That's a little, that's a little
Drop the
slippery.
30 part down
Yeah,
to 25.
exactly.
That's a little slippery.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm ready to make a motion.
Sounds great. Thank you, Dave.
ZBA 24-0006, 618 Stratford Drive. In accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a 4-foot, 50% opacity variance from section 5.26.2, subsection A, subsection 1, fencing standards. The variance permits an 8-foot tall, 100% opaque fence in the front yard along Stratford Drive, Avon Road, and Hill Street. The fence is to be constructed per the submitted plans.
Thank you, Dave.
The way this was written, it's not talking about a 6-foot, but it's granting a greater variance.
It would cover both.
Yeah.
Support.
Thank you, Todd. Todd?
No.
Grace? No. I also vote no. Dharma?
No.
Mike?
No.
Dave?
You've already know.
Christina?
No.
The request is denied. Moving on to
Yeah.
petition ZBA 24-0007-2119 Devonshire Road. John?
Robert Clark, representing the property owner, is seeking a variance of 7.5 feet from chapter 55, table 5.17-1, single-family residential zoning districts. The variance, if granted, will allow for a new enclosed glass sunroom addition in the rear yard of the parcel. The new addition is approximately 21.5 feet by 16 feet and will be a total of 344 total square feet. When finished, the sunroom will be 32.5 feet from the rear lot line. The property is zoned R1B, single-family residential, and requires a 40-foot rear yard setback. The subject property is located on the north side of Devonshire Road, west of the intersection of Avon Road and Devonshire Road in the Angel neighborhood. The home was built in 1934 and is approximately 2,058 square feet in size. The parcel is 12,066 square feet in area. The proposed sunroom will be a one-story, unconditioned enclosed glass sunroom. The north side of the sunroom will encroach 1 foot into the rear yard setback and gradually increase to 7.5 feet towards the east side of the lot near the side yard. A portion of the brick paver patio will be removed. The rear yard has a privacy fence along the lot line. If you'll turn your attention to the screen, you'll see the zoning map and the subject property highlighted in the center of your screen. You see along Devonshire and Washtenaw Avenue to the west. Next slide shows the aerial map with surrounding properties and existing conditions. And the next slide is the zoomed in aerial photo with the proposed sunroom in this portion of the rear yard. This is the survey that was submitted with the proposed sunroom superimposed onto the back of the home. You can see how it's connected and its configuration, and it would be 32.5 feet to this rear lot line when 40 is required. This is a floor plan showing the proposed sunroom. These are the photos I took at my site inspection. You see the front of the house, going down the driveway towards the rear yard, and the detached garage in the backyard. This is the back elevation of the home. And this is where the sunroom is to be connected into the back of the house, with adjoining with this rear entry. This is the approximate location of where the sunroom will be located. This is more of where the sunroom is to be located in the relationship with the adjacent property. Approximate location of the sunroom. You see the back of the house. steps leading to it. And that is the end of my presentation, and I'll take any questions you have at this time.
Thanks, John. Any questions?
I do have one. So this is attached to the building, right?
To the house, yes.
Right. If it were unattached, would they need to be here?
Depending on where it was located, but most likely no, if it's a detached sunroom.
Okay, yeah.
Because detached sunrooms are accessory buildings and could be 3 feet off side and rear lot lines.
Right, that's what I was thinking. That was what I thought. Okay, so this one is attached, but if it was unattached, they could place it without being here.
Correct.
Okay.
Any questions for John? All right, if the petitioner is here, please come forward, sign in, state your name for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
Sure. My name is Robert Clark. I'm with Four Seasons Sunrooms. I'm here to represent the client. And here's my client.
The homeowner. I work for it. Well, while you're signing, I'll just mention, just so it's clear, because I heard from a previous one when you guys were talking about a sunroom, this will have a heat pump on the side, so it's really a 4-season room. It's not something that we would only be in at that time. And the other reason, the reason that we wanted is just the house is a relatively small house in the neighborhood. I think, what is it, 2,060 square feet or so, and it's older, we love the house, but the rooms are really cut up, like there's no big family room, so that is sort of our goal, to have my mom was to move in, grandkids, stuff like that, where we could have one room big enough for everyone to gather.
So in what John pointed out is that on the, I will refer to it as looking at the back of the house, back at the sunroom, the right gable side, it needs very little, 1 foot. But as we go towards the neighbor's lot, we have an irregular shaped lot, we have a pie-shaped lot, which is causing in the house a little bit on an angle. So, yeah, that last picture, John, shows the house on an angle kind of a little bit. Right there.
In the driveway?
Well, if you go to the plan, right, you can see how angled
it kicks it, yeah.
Lot line in, and with the garage, unfortunately, you'd have plenty of room on the other side, but the garage is underneath the house and the driveway goes around, so there isn't an option to put it over on that side.
Right. So to move it where it would meet, we have the most practical spot. But again, with this, having it, gaining 6.5 feet as we go towards, I would say, the east, right? It's being caused by the lot and the irregular shaped lot. If that was straight, and the lot was, just a rectangular, it would be, we would be here. We do have many supportive neighbors that have supported this structure. It won't hinder any of the neighbors. You saw the fences and how high the fences are. So it's not going to be, we're not building a 2-story and causing any hindrance to any one of the neighbors. Hence the reason of the approval.
We'll still have 32 feet back from our fence line, so we'll still have, we plan on re-landscaping and putting in a rain garden and then redoing our driveway, so that's our next step.
It would only be, without the variance, it would be just 9 feet.
Right.
So it would be just another
like 9
small,
by
9 feet in that direction. It would be long enough, but it'd be a little bit of a bowling alley.
Yeah.
Right, I couldn't really put a couch. I was trying to figure out how to put furniture in a 9 by 21 foot room, and to get a couch and a TV in there is really difficult. I just need those extra few feet to make it a little wider. Our plan is to put, a little table in there to eat out there, and then a couch and a TV to watch football.
All right, thank you. Questions for the petitioners? Dave?
So as I'm looking at the plan, I'm just wondering if you slid this over towards the concrete driveway. I'm not sure how many feet you have there, but you could slide the whole thing over and just go to the setback line, potentially, and pick up the square footage you need.
It's a hill there, and that's right up against the driveway as it is.
It is?
Yeah, and we have
Oh,
two
no,
garages.
Yeah, 'cause if you see
the
the hill
garages
there-
that go under there?
Yeah.
We are essentially just about going there.
And then you see how there's a hill up to the house there, so there really...
Yeah, but I'm seeing your plan isn't even coming to the edge of the porch.
It is.
It does.
No, it does come to the edge of the porch.
We moved it over for that door, but
Yeah.
even if it does go to the edge of the porch, we have two plans.
And then the other thing, I note that this is on the north side of the building, which if you're an artist, I understand wanting the sun in the north, or being on the north for light reasons. But if you want a sunroom, it seems like on the other side of the house, on the front, where you have substantial distance to the front setback, might be a preferable spot for a sunroom.
You could, it's just, I feel like, if you were on that street, you see a row of nice houses with sort of the same front, and to sort of, I think to stick a big, if you, I know you guys were talking about...
But you could do it.
You could, you're right, absolutely. But I think it would look really funny, the houses are kind of at the same
Almost the fact
setback
that
from the
fence door
street, if
is
you put a
just
20-foot room off the front.
It would look funny, and we'd be in a fishbowl, basically, because everybody that, we do have a nice private backyard. Defeat the purpose of the...
All the houses are kind of lined up, and it looks
Yeah.
nice that way on the
Yeah, we
street.
didn't
in
think
the
our
front.
neighbors would actually go for a big old glass building in front of our house.
Todd?
Sir, or ma'am, can you explain why you rejected a detached sunroom? You probably heard my question earlier, if this were not attached to the building, you wouldn't have to be here.
Well, it would be to us, it's an addition. It's just got glass. That's the way we look at it, and it's a little more economical. But, it's a Ford, it's going to have a heat pump. If we have it, it would be a thing we would go in the winter. And so, I don't even know how, you'd have to go outside, right, and through the snow, and then open another door and go in it. So the way we're visualizing using it would not really work as a detached structure.
And I understand that it's an accessory building, you can't make a living space. Like our garage, we can't make that into a living space, is my understanding.
Right.
So that was my understanding, that as an accessory building, we couldn't have that as a living space.
You can.
You can?
Yes.
So we could make our garage into like a living space.
An accessory dwelling unit, yes.
You could make a whole separate unit back there. Yeah.
Again, our goal, but
Yeah, we kind of have those French doors there with the intention of having some kind of like an addition to just go off the kitchen. And be like that.
Christine?
Question, has an option been looked at to wrap an addition around the corner? I'm just...
Yes.
And...
Yeah, we thought about that. It's still hard because of the 9 feet to get quite enough space to see, because it would sort of be an L-shaped.
And it wouldn't be quite as big as what we're looking at, the 21 by 16. I think it would be 12 feet is the most we can go because of the fence line.
Right.
So because you have to have that 5 feet for the fence line, so it would be more like 12 by 12, I think.
But the constructability, it's an option. There's no grading issue or other impediments there in the
You're talking
corner.
about right here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and just wrapping around, so not just in that space, but wrapping around the corner. Perhaps all the way around to the door that's shown in the plan. Is there a photo of that view?
I don't know if you got all the way.
We have the air conditioner and then the oven vent out there.
In that corner?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
there
totally
is.
possible. That's a smaller space, I guess, so I guess we're just going for a little bit bigger space.
Yeah, but still wrap around the home to
Right.
try and gain as much, just wondering if that was evaluated as an option.
We thought about it, the size just didn't quite make it, but you're right. I don't think there's a
They can only go
total restriction to it. I'm not a
All
builder,
the way
but
out here?
there's an obvious reason.
Yeah, just filling all that.
Any other questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you very much. If there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this, please come forward. If there's anyone accessing remotely, please press star 9 or raise your hand.
There are no callers.
Thank you, Courtney. We did receive 6 letters of support. One from Debbie Crispin at 2120 Devonshire, one from Tim Harrington at 2125 Devonshire, one from Mike and Michelle Hubin at 2116 Devonshire, Catherine Hightower at 2117 Devonshire, Jane Michener and Christine Hildebrand at 2115 Devonshire, and the Schmitters at 2116 Vinewood. With that, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. Grace?
I think that I support this. I might be convinced otherwise by more discussion, but I feel like the difficult topography on the other side, that was one of my questions that I had, that it can't go to the other side.
Driveway side?
Yeah, there's that topography on that side, and then that angled shape of the lot in the back. I think for me that is a practical difficulty here, is that shape, because if it were just a rectangular lot, they would be able to meet that setback. And just looking at the aerial of the neighborhood, it looks like most of the houses on that street are set back pretty similarly to this. I realize they have some space in the front yard, but I think it would look silly to put a sunroom out there for one, and additionally, I think most of the houses on that street look like they're set back about that same distance from the road. And so I think that adding something in front would kind of be against that spirit of the neighborhood and what that neighborhood's character is like. And I understand that maybe they could do something with wrapping it around or without requiring a variance, but they can only go 9 feet back from the house, and I don't really feel like that's a ton of space to create a new room on your house that's only 9 feet wide. I just think that I don't think that this is an unreasonably large request. I think that it's something that probably most property owners in this neighborhood would be able to do something of this nature. So that's why I think I'm going to be voting in support of this.
A clarification, so the corner where this is going, there are fences on both of those angles, right? The corner has a fence. I'm looking at the drawing here. The top right of the survey where it's going to go, there are fences along both of those, correct?
You see a fence line right here.
Right, and there's also a fence at the top line too, right?
Along the rear lot line. Yes.
Yeah, so essentially, whatever is built there, no neighbor is going to see what's there. Okay. All right, so I think I'm really in favor of this as well. And I typically have a problem if you could get what you want without having to come before us, then, we should do it. But here, it would be absurd to put it in front because they all are set back very nicely from Devonshire, and it would wreck the whole facade of the home. And nobody's going to see it, unlike an 8-foot opaque fence. So I think I haven't quite decided, but I think on your comments as well, Grace, I'm leaning towards supporting this.
I hate to say it, but I'm leaning against it, and that's just because there are so many options that they could look at to meet their need for that extra space without going into that rear setback. But I understand where both of you are coming from in terms of not having much of a visual impact on the neighborhood, and I am somewhat swayed by the unanimous support we've received in favor of this by 5 or 6 of the neighbors. So I guess I'm leaning against it, but open to the, really I find the neighbors' support is the most persuasive part to allowing this to happen. And I note that most of the proposed sunroom is within the setback, and it's just one corner of it that's not. I'd like to hear from other people who haven't spoken yet.
So I think what I'm thinking most about is just the shape of the lot, how that's what makes it not really possible to do within the conforming setback. But I also have a side question, which is, what is the purpose of a given rear setback distance? So 40 feet versus 30 feet versus 20 feet, what is the purpose?
Well, each district has a different setback requirement. So the R1A district has a 40-foot rear yard requirement. They also have a larger lot size requirement of 20,000 square feet. And the R1B has a 30-foot, the R1 is 50-foot rear yard. The R1B.
So is it about having a consistent look across parcels? Is that really what it is? Or is it like a safe, I mean, is it a noise buffer? Is it
I can go back about 100 years and we can do a whole zoning history of the layout.
Save it for the retreat.
The layout of neighborhoods and the platting of neighborhoods.
The reason why I'm asking is I'm asking, does this 8 feet make a meaningful difference to the purpose of that? That's kind of what I'm getting at.
That's something you have to weigh in. But, there was a time when green space and open space was valued. In today's society, I think those types of things have shifted a little bit more towards, obviously, density and
also maybe recognizing that turf grass isn't necessarily nature.
I'm not going to go that far and say that, but you know how things have evolved in the last 20, 30 years, or especially the last 10 years, and density is a priority in many communities, not just Ann Arbor. So the need for 50-foot rear yard setbacks has somewhat diminished, in my opinion.
Okay, that's helpful to hear that. Anyway, I'll be voting in support of this. I don't see a big deal with it.
Just a side to Dharma's question, this rear yard is 40, sorry, but that's one of the larger rear yard setback requirements that we have, right?
Yeah, there's the R1A and then the R1B.
So there's a lot of districts where it's like 20 to 30, right?
R1D has a 20-foot rear setback, R2A does, and then R1C has 30.
Okay.
Where the minimum is 20 for a district.
Okay.
And this would be 32-ish?
This is going to be 32.5 if the variance is granted in a 40-foot rear setback requirement, so a 7.5-foot variance encroachment.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that, sorry.
Christina?
So I'll be 99% sure voting against this application. I'm just in support of adhering to that 40-foot setback. It was made for a reason in this neighborhood. Again, it's a very unique neighborhood. And I'm by no way advocating for anything on the front, but I do think a wraparound is an option. These homes are fussy, they're tricky solutions to additions, and I just think that there's a design opportunity there in character with the house. I actually think just a rectangular addition is not in keeping with the character of the house. So I'm convincing myself from 99% to 100% that I'll be voting against the application. Thanks.
Any other discussion? You ready for a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Dave.
If I can find my motion sheet. There it is. ZBA 24-0007, 2119 Devonshire Road. Based on the following findings and in accordance, or let me cross that out. In accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a 7.5-foot variance from Chapter 55, Table 5.17-1, single-family residential zoning districts. The required rear yard setback is 40 feet. Variance allows for a 32.5-foot rear yard setback, and a new enclosed sunroom to be built. The sunroom is to be built per the submitted plans.
Thank you, Dave. That's support. Thank you, Grace. Christina?
No.
Todd?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Dharma?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The request is granted. Moving on to petition ZBA 24-0011-1316 Gettysburg. John?
Rob Fowler, representing the property owner, is requesting relief from section 5.32.2, non-conforming structure, to allow for a 300 square foot addition to an existing one-bedroom, one-bathroom, 625 square foot apartment. The proposed alteration will convert the apartment to a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment that is 925 square feet in size. The property is non-conforming for the number of dwelling units allowed per lot area. The property is zoned R4C, multiple family dwelling district. The subject property is located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Geddes Avenue and Washtenaw Avenue east of Central Campus. The building is 5 stories, was constructed in 1964, and contains 22 apartment units. The subject apartment is located on the ground floor underneath the building and adjacent to the parking lot. If approved, the proposed apartment will contain 5 bedrooms, each containing 100 square feet. The proposed addition will eliminate 6 parking spaces on the south side of the property. If you will turn your attention to the screen, you see the subject parcel. It's highlighted at the center of your screen near the intersection of Geddes and Washtenaw, and that's North University. The next slide is the area map showing surrounding properties and existing conditions. You see the Central Campus to the west, and it's that Forest View Cemetery to the east. The next slide shows the zoomed-in aerial photo of the subject property and the apartment. This is a drive underneath parking, and the apartment is underneath here, and you'll see more of that in a minute. This is the survey that was submitted with the application. You see the subject building in the lighter gray and the dark gray that's surrounding impervious parking lot. This is if you would remove the roof, this is the first floor, the ground floor of the property, and this is the subject unit, a 1-bedroom, 625 square foot, 1-bedroom, 1-bath, proposed to add 300 square feet. In doing so, these parking spaces along here will be removed. This is a layout of the second floor, the third floor, fourth floor, and the 5th floor and the roof. You see the existing apartment number 22 showing 625 square feet and a 1-bedroom, living room, kitchen, and this is the proposed addition that will add the additional 4 bedrooms. This is the front of the building along Geddes. This is the interior. If you can kind of see the parking lot, it goes back around here, and then you come in, and this is the subject apartment. It's on the ground floor. Here's a doorway entrance, and that's one of the windows to it. This is driving along the driveway, and you pull in the parking lot right here, and this is apartment number 22. This is the entrance into, you turn through this corridor and you turn to your left, and that's apartment number 22 right there. And here's apartment 22, and these parking spaces will be removed with the addition coming out right here to make way for the new apartment. Just a close-up view, that's the parking lot on the other side right there, the corridor, and this is apartment 22. The rear of the property, the parking lot along here, and then look, that's going east. And that is all I have at this time. Any questions?
Dave?
So it looks like the entire parcel is impervious surface? My concern here is to reduce water runoff to our stormwater discharge. I guess that narrow front yard.
Yeah. You do have a little narrow front yard, and you can see maybe by the survey. You got the white as the... Yep. So I would say probably 90% of the property is impervious. But at the time it was built in 1964, it was, wasn't subject to stormwater requirements like today.
Is there some way we could condition this on like a rain garden in the front area? Like some way to retain or detain stormwater runoff?
Well, we're not going to be adding any impervious surface.
That's true.
There's no new impervious surface.
But they are asking for an alteration to a structure that's significantly non-conforming, and in doing it, they're removing parking. Now, some people at this table think that everybody's going to give up their cars. I don't believe that. And I think that any parking we get rid of is then put off into the surrounding neighborhoods that demand for parking. So that is a burden we're adding to surrounding neighborhoods. So that's why I'm always hesitant to remove the parking.
Based on the current code, there are no parking requirements, no longer, those have been removed, and this isn't adding any impervious surface.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask if we added a condition to the approval, isn't it supposed to be related to the variance, right? Like it's supposed to be directly related to what they're asking for? Or am I misunderstanding?
I hate that word condition, so I don't like adding conditions to requests because it's not what's advertised, and I'm not going to speak for the applicant.
Okay.
He may be more than willing to do it, but and that's up to the board. It's not for me to decide. You guys can put a condition on it if you want, but don't look to me for that advice.
I just meant if we can.
You can.
I'm not in favor of doing that personally.
I don't see the need to condition this.
So the nonconformity right now relates to the fact that this is a multi-family dwelling unit in a non-multifamily neighborhood, or?
No, the nonconformity is there's too many units on this property.
How many units should there be?
Under today's code, it allows for 8, and this has 22.
And they want to add even more?
No, they want to increase the size of one. They're not adding a unit.
Oh, they're not adding units.
They're just increasing the size of one. That's currently a 625 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment, a 300-foot addition, a reconfiguration on the interior to make it 925 square feet with 5 bedrooms. They're not changing the footprint. It's all underneath the existing building. They're not adding impervious. They're just asking for...
I was just wondering if the nonconformity increased. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, it's because they're not changing the footprint.
Okay.
So if this were to run beyond the footprint, it'd be probably asking for a variance. But it's all within the confines of the building. It's kind of unique. I don't think we've ever seen one like this. It's underneath the building.
Yeah.
So,
That open space, okay, that totally makes sense.
so it will not change the footprint at all.
To pick up on Grace's comment, I'm not the city's attorney, but I think any condition that we would impose would have to be relevant to the issue. You can't say, we'll give you the 20-foot variance as long as you paint your building red. You know, it has to be related to what the subject matter of what our purview is. We can't just stick random conditions on something. So, that would not be fair.
Any other questions for John? All right, the petitioner's here. Please come forward, sign in, state your name for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
Hi, my name's Rob Fowler. I'm representing the owner of 1316 Jetties. So, we've been working on this building for the last, this will be the 4th year. This will be our final go around where they're all finally done. As we, original units, there was 2 and 3 and a couple 4 bedrooms. So right now, I think all the ones we remodeled are 5 bedroom. This was the only 1-bedroom apartment in the entire unit. I suspect it was maybe an office or something. That's why it's apartment 22, because all the first 4 apartments are 1 through 6. So how 22 got down there. But if you can see the gutters are piped into the storm sewer. And my addition is coming out 6 feet from the brick wall. And if you see the dry spot on the pavement, we feel we can still fit cars in there, and they can still make the loop. There's gonna be a car looking in your window maybe, but if it, you know, I'm not saying that we're gonna lose those spots.
You're coming out 6 feet from the...
From that brick wall.
Isn't that adding to the footprint?
Well, the footprint's the second story
The
part.
the overhang is considered.
He's talking about the brick wall that the cars are put in front of.
Where
You're
that
just
brown
coming
gutter
out
comes
to it.
down.
Yeah,
Right here.
there.
Oh, I see, you're coming out 6 feet from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you're thinking you could still fit cars.
Yeah, I see.
So what's the dimension and that's left for you to,
well-
parking spot?
A legal parking spot is 9 by 18.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm not gonna have 18. I might end up, that's deep. I'm trying to remember what those apartments measured upstairs.
At 350.
They might have been 24 feet. I'm thinking that building's 24 feet deep. I'm trying to remember.
So is it reasonable to think that parking could be accommodated there?
Possibly. I mean, it's gonna be small cars.
Yeah.
Well,
There's a bike parking.
Or bike parking.
I've got
Could be parallel.
Or those little electric motorcycles, they can charge them up there.
Vespas.
Yeah.
One other question. So you've been working on this for 4 years?
Yes.
It's a 22-unit building. I'm guessing you've been changing 2-bedroom units to 4 and 5-bedroom units?
Yes.
How many bedrooms have you added in that 4 years?
Well, if there's 22 units, and if I add 3, so yeah, maybe 60.
So you've already added 60 bedrooms. So I look at the count of bedrooms as adding to the demand for the parking, if not on this site, in the nearby neighborhood.
And we do have, he does have another unit 2 buildings down that there's quite a bit of parking there too.
Okay.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
I was just curious which property, it's a funny block, right? So I just can't imagine.
There's the party store that, like on
Yeah, I know,
Milk.
yeah, I can picture the party store.
So
behind it.
I'm closer to Washtenaw. I'm almost on the corner. There's one building on the corner and then me.
Yeah, I know perfectly well where this building is. I'm just saying for any additional parking opportunities. It's just a funny neighborhood that I don't see where you could even find off-street parking. I mean, there is that little internal road there, but, I mean, is that one of those like 2-hour max parking? I don't know. Do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always had plenty of room to park our working vehicles on site.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
All right, thank you. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, please come forward. Or if you're accessing remotely, please press *9 or use the raise hand button.
There are no comments.
Thank you, Courtney. With that, I don't think we received any correspondence on this one. So with that, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. Mike?
I'm going to be supporting this. It's an alteration to non-conforming. Want us all to remember that, right? Different standards than variance. This neighborhood, it's on the edge of campus, literally the edge of campus. And there's a huge cemetery just to the east of it. Like, this is not a place you go to look for parking anyways, right? Like, if you live in this neighborhood, you're right by the university's main bus depot. You're right by Washtenaw where you can grab the city bus. This is a perfect neighborhood to live without a vehicle. And if we want to increase density so more students aren't spreading out further from campus, we have to think of ways to provide more inventory for the students to live close to campus. This is literally right on the edge of U of M's campus. This is not a family neighborhood. It's all students. You can easily live here it's a perfect place to live without a car. So I'm going to be 100% supporting this.
Grace?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I agree that this is, if someone is going to live somewhere without a car, this would be the place to do it, and that I'm of maybe the unpopular opinion that not everyone is going to get rid of their cars, but at least to some extent, the demand for parking. I think some people who having a car is very important to them, take that into account when choosing a place to live. And if they recognize that where they're moving to is not going to meet the demand for their parking, they're going to probably choose somewhere else. So I think that this is something that I'll be approving or voting to approve. Okay.
I'm a landlord, albeit a small landlord, and I know people come with cars. Tenants come with cars, not all of them. This unit is significantly out of compliance with zoning. That's why they're asking for an alteration to a non-conforming use. It's a 22 units in an area that could legitimately have 8 units, and over the last 4 years, they've added 60, maybe 60 bedrooms, certainly more than 50 bedrooms. Now they're asking to add 4 more. I'm going to vote no. I think that all the added demand for additional parking spaces is going to go to nearby neighborhoods, maybe 12 blocks away, maybe 13 blocks away, maybe all the way down Getty's to where Hill comes, to the Hill and Avon neighborhood, where they're going to hate having all these people parking on their streets.
I think there's limits in those neighborhoods.
Pardon me?
I think there are 2-hour in a lot of those.
There's
streets.
already
I mean,
residential
not
parking.
every street, but yeah.
So, and I live in Burns Park where the residential parking is a fact of life on a lot of streets, but on my street, because it's right across from the park, I got the neighbors to not sign for that 2-hour parking because people use the park. And they should be able to park for more than two hours without getting tickets. And so I actually opposed having residential parking requirement on my personal block. But parking is an issue, and Mike and I have philosophical disagreements about this, and we'll continue working on it over pints. But it's of the next juice, whatever.
Public record.
I see it as an added burden to the community, and I'll be voting no.
I think we should be careful not to make assumptions that increasing the number of bedrooms increases the need of people with cars. I don't think cars are going to disappear. I do agree that it's the perfect spot for people to live without a car, and I also think that when you have, first of all, I think that you're right, you make decisions about where you're living based on what's available. And I also think you make decisions based on what your roommates have, quite frankly. I mean, when I was an undergraduate, I piled in one of these houses with 10 people. Did all 10 of us have a car? No, we didn't need to. You used each other's car, we shared cars. So I don't think we should assume just an increase in the number of bedrooms means an increased need for parking, and I'll be supporting this.
Any other discussion? Any more motion?
I can make a motion.
Does anybody besides Dave want to make a motion?
Usually requires citizens always getting.
Well,
It's really good at it.
The staff is so wonderful in providing motion sheets for me, and if they provide them for other people, I'd happily defer to somebody else.
He has a good voice.
Okay, I'll go. ZBA 24-0011, 1316 Getty's Avenue, alteration to a non-conforming structure. The Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants relief from Section 5.32.2, alteration to a non-conforming structure to allow construction, to allow for a 300 square foot addition to an existing 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, 625 square foot apartment. The proposed alteration will convert the apartment to a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, 925 square feet in size. The property is non-conforming for the number of dwelling units allowed per lot area. The apartment addition and renovation is to be built per the submitted plans.
Thank you, Dave. Do you have support?
Support. Support.
Thank you, Darren. Darren?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
Delardi, no.
Christina?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
I also vote yes, the request is granted. We are going to take a brief recess while I step out. Todd takes over, and then we'll pick up with petition ZBA 24-0013, 3050 Lakeview Drive.
And restroom.
Can we have a quick restroom break?
Yes, like
Yeah,
5
well,
minutes.
that's, right,
Yeah, I was thinking this.
we're doing that.
Yes, like through the door and
I
down the
drove
hall.
here directly from work. Stop for any meeting. Oh, yeah, I played tennis. Yeah, I played at Eastern. Oh, really? Yeah. Now I don't though, I haven't played like one time.
Mr. Barrett, sir, take it away.
Thank you. Melissa and Michael Schmidt, property owners, are seeking a variance of 22 feet from table 5.17-1, single-family residential zoning district dimensions to allow construction of a 672-square-foot attached garage to encroach into the required 30-foot rear setback. The existing 529-square-foot detached garage will be demolished. A new 501-square-foot addition to the rear of the residence is to be constructed with a new garage attached. The property is zoned R1C single-family residential. The subject property is located near the intersection of Gray Lake Avenue and Lakeview Drive. The home was constructed in 1930 and is approximately 1,664 square feet in size. The proposed addition to the rear of the home will have 2 stories. The first story will contain a new kitchen, pantry, mudroom, and deck. The second story will include a bedroom, walk-in closet, and office space. The single-story garage will be connected to the addition and face the alley at the rear of the property. The garage will be accessible from the alley. If you'll turn your attention to the screen, you see the zoning map, the highlighted subject parcel. At the center of the screen, it's near the intersection of Gray Lake and Lakeview, like I said, just south of Jackson Avenue. The next slide shows the surrounding, the aerial map surrounding properties and existing conditions. Everyone's familiar with the Sister Lakes subdivision? Yes. One Sister Lakes and then Weber's right there. The next slide shows the zoomed-in aerial photo. A lot of vegetation in this picture, but there is here's the alley access off Gray Lake. The property owners now come in and park right here, and here's the existing garage to be demolished, and the home footprint is right here. And you see that with the survey that was submitted with the application and its current conditions. The next slide shows an existing site plan. You see the existing garage, existing home, patio, setbacks. Here's the rear yard setback at 30 feet. Here is the proposed site diagram. This is the addition, the 2-story addition that I talked about right here, going to be coming to the back of the home. You see the difference between the two. The new deck, and then the proposal to attach the new garage to the addition, and that leaves this 8-foot distance to the rear lot line for that 22-foot requested variance. These are the floor plans showing the first and second floors of the proposed addition. You see the proposed garage, and then this is the first floor with the kitchen, I believe I said, and a deck and a mudroom and a pantry, and then the second story with the bedroom. Next slide shows the north elevation of the new proposed garage, a side east elevation of the existing home, the 2-story addition, and the connection to the existing garage and the alley be right here. And this is the west, just the opposite side of that addition and elevation. These are the photos that I took when I made my site inspection. You see the front of the existing structure. This is going down the side of the property, the alley's in the back, and you can see the existing garage right here in relationship with the backyard and the side of the house. This is standing on the alley looking at the back of the property, the rear of the property. This is the existing garage to be demolished. You'll see the addition will be making that connection to the rear of the home, followed up by the new garage. Picture of the existing garage in relationship with the alley and the approach to the garage. You see some of the surrounding properties in the background. Looking down the alleyway, current conditions. This is from the opposite side of the garage, from the neighbor's perspective to the west, looking at the existing garage in the back of the home. Another view of the same with the existing garage in the back of the house. And that is all I have at this time, and I can take any questions that you may have.
Questions?
Man, you're either tired or I'm doing a good job explaining.
Done.
So I just want to make sure that I understand that right now, there's a required 30-foot rear setback, and they're asking to encroach such that they'd only have 8 feet between it and the...
That's correct.
Okay.
I have a question. So if they kept the garage unattached from the home, would they need to be here?
I knew that question was coming.
Yeah, there I go again.
Yes, that's correct. If there was a detached garage, the detached garage would be required to be a minimum of 3 feet from the side and rear lot lines, comply with the rear open space requirements of 5.16.6.
So it was saying in a different way, they could have the 2-story addition with the interior rooms, and as long as the garage was detached from the house, they wouldn't need to be here. They wouldn't need a variance.
So you see the proposed addition right here
It's inside the
with the deck. It meets the 30-foot rear setback. If they were to build the garage within this rear open space area, it could be 3 feet off the side of rear lot lines, and it could not occupy more than 35% of this rear open space.
And that would be enough for 2 cars?
So that would be, I think this says 70, and so 70 times 30.
2,100.
I know that, but then times that by 0.35. Give me 1 second, I can figure out your rear open space for you. 2,100 times 0.35. It'd be a square foot garage.
And that's
So
big
they're
enough.
under that.
It's big enough for 2 cars.
Yeah, 20 by 20 is,
Well, and the one they have is
400.
672, so.
right.
It could definitely be a 2-car garage.
Okay, all right, good, okay, thank you.
Another question.
Very thorough.
If that detached garage, that 735-foot detached garage that they could do within current zoning, could they put a second floor on it and have it be an accessory dwelling unit?
Yes.
And all within current zoning?
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, I think the applicant is up. State your name, sir, and sign in if there's a sign-in spot.
Yep, there is. Hi, I'm Kevin Adkins.
Say your name again?
Kevin Adkins.
Thank you, sir.
With Adram Architecture. I'm representing my clients, Mike and Melissa, back in the corner. So, yes, representing my clients who bought the house 10 years ago. Didn't have kids at the time, now have a growing family, have children, and kind of cute that Melissa's mother at birth was brought home to that house because her grandparents owned it in the 50s. It's changed hands a few times, but they got it back, and it's back in the family, and the family has visited and they love it. But as grandparents left the house, as the family grew, my clients have considered the same. While the house sounds substantial at 1,600 square feet for a family of 4, should have no problem living in that, the way the rooms are configured inside of the house leave a very tiny, an 8-foot by 10-foot kitchen and a very tiny 1 full bathroom in the house. So there's a lot of the conversation about the addition is changing the kitchen so it's more of a family kitchen so everyone can be together, and we're adding a second bathroom, full bathroom, so the family all has bathroom space. So rather than try to squeeze all that into the house, we're proposing the addition to do that. So the existing garage, though it has a really good coat of paint on it and it looks pretty good, is in disrepair. It's not in good shape. It's an older garage that you saw in the photos has a lean-to to it. That lean-to, I'm not sure who built it, but they do a great job with it. The garage has no foundation. The structure is failing. The roof is sagging. There's a lot of rot. So you notice in the aerial view, both cars were parked outside. They're afraid to park in their garage, so it's not really functioning as a garage any longer. So with the addition to the house, also decided to do a new garage. And given the unique situation of the house having an alley rather than a front drive like most do in Ann Arbor, there's about a 12-foot elevation change from curb to front porch. There's a very steep front yard. And the house is set back quite far, about 45 feet. The front setback is quite large, so it pushes the house back in the site quite a bit, which reduces usable rear yard space because the house is pushed back. So that all led to the decision to attach the garage to the house. The existing back entry to the house is kind of common for smaller houses where there's a side entry to a landing, a small landing, and then stairs up and down from the basement to the house. They're always narrow, tight, steep, but that's their primary entrance rather than walking all the way to the front. So the attached garage affords the convenience of moving straight from parking space to the interior of the house. And Melissa is a teacher at the school in the neighborhood, often taking supplies to and from school, so it'd be really nice to be able to load those supplies directly in the car without having to go outside in Michigan weather and potentially damaging it when you're getting to work. So lots of things leading to the desire to attach the garage. Also, the alley is actually fairly tight, so to swing a car into a garage, make that 90-degree turn, we wanted to then pull the garage a little further back from the edge of the alley. So if we were, yes, the elephant in the room is to detach the garage. We wouldn't be here. We could push it to within 3 feet of the alley, but we wouldn't be able to, I think, make that swing to actually park in the garage. So the current garage is pulled back pretty far from the alley, and they park in front of it. We don't quite need that much space, but the 8 feet we think is enough to swing vehicles in and out. And that also gives a little bit of a buffer to the alley for garbage trucks, things like that. You can see in the alley shots, everyone else is pretty far off the alley. Nothing really crowds the alley that much, so if we were to detach and push it to 3 feet, we'd really be the only ones crowding the alley in that regard. And we also just feel that by attaching, we reduce the overall, what's time? Okay. We reduce the overall footprint of the entire assembly of space, the garage, the house, everything. More green space around. The garage is now 7 foot off the side property line where the existing is 18 inches. So we're trying to just create space around the house. If we detached, we'd again stretch that out more, which we feel is detriment to the neighborhood. By keeping it compact, it improves views, improves the alley and views, and improves lots of things, and I think I'm out of time. So,
questions for Mr. Atkins? Yes, Grace.
Is there a reason for not putting either the addition or the garage like to the side of the house?
There is, we explored that, the massing of the house doesn't lend itself very well to that, and there's also an existing landscaped area next to the house that we'd like to keep and not mess up. And yeah, and the addition has a lot of, that's the primary play space for the kids. So if we did the garage attached to the back and the addition to the side, then the view from the house to the backyard would be blocked by those and you couldn't watch the kids play. That was the idea behind that. And the view of the house. We saw the front view of the house is really nice. It's a really cool house. So we tucked everything within the sides and went straight back, so the street view is maintained.
Anyone else with a question for Mr. Atkin? I have one. I almost always have questions. You probably figured out by now. Did I infer correctly, or maybe you said it and I didn't quite catch it, that if the garage were detached, would the opening of the garage doors be closer to the alley than they are now?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought you
said.
So if am I correct in saying that with an attached garage, it's pulled back and the alley is wider for garbage trucks and whatever, and people going in and out? Okay.
It sounds like the typical condition on the alley is not crowding the alley with the garage. Is that?
Yep. Yeah, there was one view of the alley, and you saw not much crowding at our garages, maybe the foremost. But yeah, that view there. The next few yards don't have anything crowding it.
Yeah. So you're compromising
Yeah.
the existing condition with the proposed.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions from Mr. Atkin? Courtney, do we have any callers?
We do not.
Okay. Anybody in addition that would like to comment? Yes, sir, state your name and
Sure.
sign in.
My name is Scott Rosencrantz. I live at 3051 Lakeview Drive, directly across the street from the Schmidts. I'm here to speak in support of their petition. I've lived there longer than they have, probably 6 or 7 years longer. Up until about 13 years ago, I was a licensed builder, and we knew the neighbors, the people who lived in the house, the Coolies, quite well. We were in and out of their house quite a bit for social occasions, but they also would hire me to do small jobs in between my other ones. Very familiar with the house. I can't imagine using that kitchen with 2 people, let alone a family of 4. It is so tiny, and the bathroom is just completely inadequate. My biggest concern about the project is that the garage itself, I can tell you 15, 16 years ago, was severely structurally compromised, and I think it's even worse now, having had a fresh look at it. So I think it's really dangerous. I think it's got to go. But I think that adding the space in the back would help. I'm just here really to testify as a neighbor that these are terrific neighbors. They're assets to the neighborhood. As Mr. Atkins said, Melissa teaches down the street, educating the neighborhood kids. Mike is constantly helping neighbors out with their household projects. They're very friendly, helpful, nice people, and they're an asset to the neighborhood, and I certainly want to keep them around. So, I forgot to sign in, so I'm going to do that now.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Todd, there's also letters and
I can read those for you.
Yeah, please do.
I'm all prepared for you, Todd.
Good.
I got your back.
I'm even here, but I'm glad you...
We have a letter of support from Barbara Kafka at 3025 Hilltop. We have a letter of support from Diane Cody at 3098 Lakeview Drive. Letter of support from Anthony and Natalie Binder from 341 Gray Lake. Letter of support from Jeff Krugman. Don't see an address from Mr. Krugman. A letter of support from Kate Kloss and Andy Sippa at 3082 Lakeview Drive. Letter of support from Chet and Carol Pawlowski at 3069 Hilltop.
All right. And with that, the public hearing part of this request is closed, and we're into discussion. Yes, Christina.
When I first reviewed the application, I wasn't entirely in support of it, but after hearing Kevin's explanation for the organization of the site elements, for me, that pushed it into the yes category. It just makes a lot of sense, and especially given the potential constraint of pushing the garage too much to the alley would make it, sounds like not that usable. So I'm in support of the project.
Grace.
Yeah, I agree with Christina, and also the numerous letters of support and statements from the neighbors are also a factor to me. I think that initially I wasn't so sure about, there's a decent amount of side yard space, but given, the support from the neighbors and what we heard from the applicant, I think that it is important to preserve that architectural character of that home. It's a really unique and cool property, and I think that, like Christina said, moving the garage closer to the alley could pose problems, and where I originally was thinking, we could put something on the side, I could really see where that would be, more of a detriment to the character of the neighborhood, and just seeing how many neighbors are in support of this, I think makes me feel even more like I'm in favor of this.
Any other comments? Well, I think we have to turn to you, Dave. Read the,
Here's the
we don't want to break custom.
ZBA 24-0013, 3050 Lakeview Drive. In accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a variance of 22 feet from Table 517-1 single-family residential zoning district dimensions to allow construction of a 672 square foot attached garage to encroach into the required 30-foot rear setback. The existing 529 square foot detached garage will be demolished. A new 501 square foot addition to the rear of the residence is to be constructed with the new garage attached. The garage is to be built per the submitted plans.
Support?
Support.
Okay, thank you, Grace.
Dharma.
That was Dharma.
Oh, Dharma, I'm sorry.
I'm a ventriloquist.
All right, Dharma.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Dave.
DeVarty, yes.
Christina.
Yes.
I'll also vote yes. And Grace.
Yes.
All right, good. Passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're approved.
Thank you.
We'll watch this for the ones.
Thank you. Dave, did you get new glasses?
I did. I got 3 new
I like
pairs of
those.
new glasses to go with my new lenses.
You must have gone to
He's all
Warby Parker.
stylish.
To replace my cataracts.
I know when you put them on earlier, I was like, those don't look like the same.
They're all three.
I couldn't place
They're
what
3
was
very
different.
different pairs. I'll try to break them out, some of the new ones.
Different personas.
Different personas. And this pair, I have to say, my wife didn't like initially as I was choosing them, but then now she likes them a lot.
It's like Dave's
I
mood
like the
ring is
two-tone
which glasses he's wearing. That's his
Right,
mood
yeah.
ring.
All right, moving on. ZBA 24-0014, are we not ready to move on?
I was going to say, did you, Candace received word that the volume was clear currently, on break, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
My informant told me that
They could hear.
they could
So
hear.
volume,
I don't know how they're
Oh,
watching,
should they hear
but
us during
they
the
could
break
hear.
also?
I don't know.
It's true.
I will promote the,
Petition ZBA 24-0014, 3645 Washtenaw Avenue. John?
All right, Kevin Dieters of Metro Detroit Signs, representing the business and property owners, is seeking a variance from Table 5.24-3, other mixed-use and non-residential and special purpose district permanent signs. The request of 6 feet 6 inches, 6.5 inches would allow a permanent wall sign to be installed above the maximum allowable height of 20 feet. The property is zoned C3 Fringe Commercial. The subject property is located at the northwest quadrant of Washtenaw Avenue and Highway US 23 in the Arbor Land Shopping Center. The center was constructed in 1991 and contains 5 buildings. The total square footage of the center is 407,374 square feet in area. The current tenant space is undergoing interior renovations and the front facade is being altered as well. A new channel letter wall sign with the business name Home Goods is to be installed. The sign is 162 square feet in area. The sign is to be installed directly above the entrance doors at a height of 6 feet 6.5 inches, for a total of 26 feet 6 inches above the maximum height of 20 feet. The current sign ordinance was adopted in December of 2020. If you turn your attention to the screen, you'll see the subject property highlighted in blue at Washtenaw 23. I think everybody is familiar with Arbor Land Shopping Center. And the next map is, or photo slide, is the aerial map showing surrounding properties and existing conditions. You see the 5 buildings and the zoomed in aerial photo of the shopping center. The tenant suite is right here, next to Kroger and Marshall's, and showing this the vicinity plan, site plan. The next slide shows the proposed elevation and the sign to be installed at the 26 feet 6 inches. The sign right here is I can't read that.
32 length, hold on.
No, I just want-
32 feet.
I always want to see the total square footage.
The width is 32,
Sorry.
4¼ inches, 32 feet, 4¼ inches width. Is that what you're looking for?
130.8 square foot total wall sign.
Oh, that's what you were looking for.
And that's the rendering of it. There will be a little under the walkway canopy sign. As, you know, as in the sidewalk, when you're walking on the stores, there's a little canopy above there. That's not part of this, but that was set with the application. This is a rendering of what the sign would look like if it was to comply with the ordinance at the 20-foot mark. This is the photo that I took. This is the current condition of the property. You see the construction fence and the large fascia and where the proposed sign is to be, and then the rendering showed it, you know, right here in the middle, because the 20 feet is hitting right around the top of this edge right here. That concludes my presentation, and I'll take any questions that you may have at this time.
You don't have any photos of the adjacent signs, like Marshall's and Gardner Way? Because I don't remember either of those coming to us.
I do, actually.
Well, Marshall's has been there forever.
Yeah, what was there before?
Bed
This is
Bath & Beyond?
DSW?
Bed Bath & Beyond, I believe, yes.
Gardner White is...
That's at the far end.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering how their heights...
So there, any sign, these are the first signs that are going to be affected by the sign ordinance.
Right.
Oh, that, yeah.
That took effect into December of 2020. Because these tenant suites are being altered, new tenants are moving in, new construction, so the old signs are coming down, the Bed Bath & Beyond, the new ones are coming in.
So the sign ordinance changed?
Correct. In December of 2020, it was newly adopted, and it doesn't allow for signs to be higher than 20 feet. Except for buildings that are taller than 45 feet.
Under the old ordinance, this would be okay?
Correct.
Is this in line with where the Bed Bath & Beyond sign was, do you know?
Yes,
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
the Bed Bath & Beyond was a little different. I think there was like 3 levels.
Yeah.
There was at least 2 raceways. This is a 1 raceway sign. But the applicant can speak more to that. What was there previously?
Do you know if the new facade of the building was added by the applicant? In other words...
No, it's existing. It's just been maybe like cleaned up a little bit.
Oh, okay, so there
wasn't really any change, major changes to it.
So the facade...
The height of the archway is the same as it
The property owner is
was.
here. Yeah, basically the fascia is the same, from what I remember. The property owner is here. He can comment further though. I'm not an expert on what it used to look like, so.
Well, but the red brick and the little squares off from the big rectangle in the middle, all that stuff was there.
Well, that's it.
But we'll ask the applicant.
Yeah. Any other questions for John? All right, the petitioner would like to come forward, please sign in, or if he's remote, I'm not sure what.
I'm too remote.
Okay. Oh,
He's not here?
no. Is the petitioner remote? Okay.
They're a meeting now.
Ah, right, that is the big, yeah, right, got it, yep, that's right.
Paul Dieters, can you hear us?
I sure can.
Can I see it?
Yes.
Yep, that's the only Bed Bath & Beyond place.
My name is Paul Dieters. I'm with Metro Signs and Lighting, Warren, Michigan. And we're here this evening, Gene Wagner, he's the Regional Construction Manager for TJX Companies. So, obviously, he can answer any questions you might have about the construction, and I'll keep my comments primarily to the signage. So, thank you for your consideration this evening. As the gentleman had mentioned earlier, not a whole lot is being changed to the facade. The Bed Bath & Beyond site is staying fairly similar to what it was. And I think as Jamie can attest to, TJX tries to repurpose or recycle as much of the existing facade as they can. Not only exterior elements, but interior things like HVAC, mechanical units and things like that, just to reduce the footprint of what they're trying to do. But the branding for this store is a little bit of a challenge. It sits so far back from Washtenaw. And it really just doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. It has to maintain that 20-foot overall height. As you can tell, the home goods is where we have it proposed is centered in the facade. It'll look much nicer, be more appealing, and it'll be easier for prospective tenants to see that as they're coming into the center. And it's consistent with the other larger stores and tenants that are within that center.
Questions?
I think so. Was that the end of your presentation, or did you have
Well, I just read if there are questions that the board may have, I'd be happy to entertain those.
I have a question.
Okay, thank you. Dave?
On the site plan that we have in our packet, there's a proposed Marshalls adjacent to the proposed home goods, along with the existing Marshalls all the way down by the Gardner White. Is that going to be an additional Marshalls location, or is this a site plan out of date?
The Marshalls will be going in adjacent to this home goods.
That's our next.
That's our next case.
So they'll be immediately to the, well, maybe to the west, towards the Kroger.
That's our next petition.
Oh. So that'll be another sign that you're asking for a variance on, a Marshall sign?
Correct.
That is correct, that's the next case.
Okay, gotcha.
Sir?
Just so you know too, is the two companies, they're owned by the same parent companies.
I have two questions, sir. When did you begin refurbishing the Bed Bath & Beyond property? You know, roughly month and year, or the season and year?
Hello, my name's Jamie Wagner. I'm the construction manager. I can speak to that question. We started the construction of this property in December of last year, and we went in for permitting, I believe, end of October of last year.
Okay, thank you. One more question, if I may. So, it seems to me, as a non-construction expert, that you could reconfigure the big rectangle and lower it, and place the home goods sign in the middle of a lowered rectangle. That's really possible in construction here, yes?
Is it possible? It is. Is it probable? No.
Why is it improbable?
Well, the glass structure system there is what's called the wing wall system. That would all have to come down. You would have to build the whole top down. That was all existing in the building. So you would have to open up the face of the building and add additional steel to support at a lower level. The cost would be astronomical, and it would really make the site not really viable for its return on investment down the road. And we intentionally try to use as many facades and as many elements as we can, so we can reduce, reuse, recycle as much as possible. So in this location, we didn't move the doors, we didn't change any of the windows out, we didn't change the color of the storefront. As far as the glass mullions go, the box out at top is exactly what it was. We infilled the area where there was tile to make the facade match what we want our image to be, but by all other accounts, there wasn't a single brick moved, or pillar moved, or there wasn't any EVIS added that wasn't already in the existing spot. It was just a rework.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you very much. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition?
I'm the landlord.
Small Property Group.
Sure.
Wasn't sure if I should have come up with those guys or not. We're just here in support of this. This particular project, we're taking the old Bath and Body Works, dividing it into two. There'll be two TJX companies going in there, Marshalls and Home Goods. When Marshalls vacates on the other side, we're to lease with a couple other possibilities right now. So we're just trying to get everything filled back up at this point.
Thank you. Did you have a question, Dave?
Yeah, so this front is all going to be Home Goods, so that's the Home Goods front?
Correct.
And the Marshall's front is to the left of this? We can't see it right now?
Correct.
The proposed Marshall's front?
That's the next item.
I know that, but I'm wondering how they look side by side. What's the front of that one look like? Is it possible?
We'll look at that one.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know if you can, I'm like over this way, but.
I'd kind of like to know before I vote on this one, but that's okay.
Is there anyone else from the public?
There are no callers.
All right, great. Thanks, Courtney. With that, we did receive one letter. I don't know if it was on this one or the other one. It was a letter of opposition from a neighbor, I think, that lives behind Arborland.
I guess I have one more question. How do you like your new sign that advertises all the businesses in the shopping center?
You know, that was added on before I took over the management of this property, but I do like it, and everybody likes a chance to run across there. The reader board?
Yeah, that was us. Because I know, I voted against it, because I wanted it to change, but only keep the time and temperature.
Gotcha.
So I wanted you to be able to update it, but with new technology.
You know, it's funny, when they gave me the software for it, they specifically said, here's the percentage of time that the time and weather had to be on there, and don't vary from that. So now I know why.
Increase it.
Yeah.
So we did receive a letter of opposition from Lilia Kim.
Can you read it, because these aren't on my packet?
Yes, it says, "Hello, my name is Lilia Kim and I live behind Arborland in Ann Arbor. I'm writing to you in response to a notice of public hearing regarding a sign request which I am against, and I hope you consider this email to reject the request. If the city allows one business to have a sign like the one requested, it will open the door for the rest of the businesses to request a similar sign, and the city won't have a position to reject the request. Please vote no for ZBA 24-0014-3645. With that, the public hearing is closed.
I'm sorry.
Discussion. Yes.
Sorry, question.
Sure, no problem.
Here, just picking up on Dave's question, so I'm just trying to, eye the two side by side, and can you, it seems like the scale is slightly different, I'm just using the height of the door to compare.
So the script is very different.
It doesn't seem like the Home Goods and Marshall signs will be in alignment on the same baseline. Is that?
They're all different.
So the exact same height is what you're saying?
Yeah, can you just give a description of, if you were to look at just from the pedestrian view?
That would be the best answered by commercial size.
Okay.
Size of letters or anything, they're all different.
And do you think they heard my question?
You have to drop the thing down. You have to reconfigure.
I'm not sure. Oh, no worries.
Do you want to ask your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now, but it's moving down.
So the question is, I'm just picking up on the question earlier from Dave and wondering what's the alignment, like, so how does the baseline of Marshall's sign, the proposed Marshall sign, relate to the baseline of the Home Goods sign?
I can answer that, because, so the request for this variance is 6 feet, 6.5 inches.
Yeah.
It's going to be at 26 feet, 6 inches in height.
Okay.
The next one, if you look at the staff report, is going to be a request of 8 feet, 9 inches. So it's going to be 28 feet, 9 inches in height.
So 2 feet.
And 3 inches.
Yeah, in difference. 2 feet, I mean, it's not, they're wide, storefronts, so it's not like it's completely adjacent, but it's not completely aligned either, just for awareness for everybody. It's not a no-go for me, but anyways.
Are we in discussion?
Yes, we're in discussion.
Okay. I think I could help a little bit, Christina. We're all familiar with Arborland, but I was showing Dave some pictures here. Marshall's, DSW, Petco, Nordstrom Rack. They're all different strips and different sizes of letters. So I don't think they're saying they have to have the same size letter. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
just-
saying that. I just wanted to get an understanding of the relationship of what that baseline was, because they are next door to one another.
All of the, because they're not reconfiguring the facade, you can look at my 3 photos, but they're all up. All the signs are about the 20 feet up. They're all big windows. Like, you remember from our, they're not low-down signs. You walk in this big door and the sign is way up there.
Yeah, and
it's all about the same level.
I'm okay with the home goods, with the proposed, having it centered in the fascia. I'm totally good with that. Again, I just wanted to see what the view would be from the parking lot of the 2 adjacent, so I can just start understanding it's 2 feet difference.
That and one sign, the home goods sign is 130 square feet overall, and the Marshalls is 189, so there's 59 additional square feet.
Yeah.
And the home goods sign is to be 5 feet in height, and the Marshalls will be 6 feet in height.
So if we're going questions, I have a question, either Dharma or John. Why was the ordinance changed for a 20-foot height maximum? I can imagine what the reasons would be, but what was the thinking behind that?
So that's a really good question. It was part of an overall redevelopment of the sign code, and we had consultants that came in, and that was what they proposed. The planning manager spoke on it as well, and thought that that was a good baseline for character and for sign heights for buildings of certain height. To keep them within a certain height of, like say a 30-foot tall building, you don't want a sign at 28 feet. Keep it at 20.
Yeah. So I was, our job is to sort of follow how the city council and the ordinance is thinking. I'm a little bit, not trying to pun things here, but a little on the fence. I think a 20-foot signage, we should try to support that. The problem I have here, listening to the construction manager, is they're coming in repurposing a building, and that facade is already of a certain height, consistent with all the other large facades in the building. And they would incur, what are you saying, a lot of extra money to reconfigure, adding steel. It would also drop the thing down from the other stores. It would look a little weird. In one sense, it's nice to say, well, the new ordinance, you started construction knowing what the new ordinance is. On the other hand, they're coming in, repurposing a building, and they don't want to have to spend big bucks and rework the entire entrance. So I think I'm probably leaning to giving it an exception here, but I'd like to hear from other people how they feel about these competing things.
So I am struggling a lot with this because I'm remembering the Burlington sign that we had.
I was trying to remember.
Right.
I don't know if that was last year, maybe?
Sure, yeah.
Yep. That was last night. We told Burlington to stuff it.
Right.
Same with the hotel in Briarwood.
And their sign, if you drive past the shopping center, the Burlington sign is lower than all of the other existing
I think that was
signs.
brand new. They redid the facade, and with the hotel in Briarwood, it was the corporate people in New York that were saying, oh, we have to have all our signs the same across the entire country. And we were like, no, you don't. We know where the hotel is.
Yeah.
So there's not quite a...
So this one,
What was the Burlington? What were the particulars about the Burlington one?
I think that's right. I think they redid the whole facade,
Yes.
and they wanted to put their sign at the same height as all the other signs in the shopping
Right.
center, which was higher than the 20 feet.
Yeah, here they've got the facade.
And-
They don't want to change it.
We told them no.
Yeah.
So their sign is lower. Now I'm looking at this Home Goods, and I think there is a legit practical difficulty to them putting the sign at 20 feet because there's not fascia there.
Yeah.
I mean,
He described it well, I think, the applicant,
Right.
of all the cost implications too, and it's just overcomplicating the construction,
yes,
I feel.
I agree. But now I'm not so sure about looking at the Marshalls one that's coming next, that I care so much about that one being centered in the area, because that one has a little bit different circumstances where they can't put
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe that's a discussion I'll save for the next one, but I guess in terms of the home goods, I'm recognizing that there's a hardship here, and I think in this
That's
case,
the word.
I'm okay
Hardship.
with,
It's a cost hardship.
I'm okay with it being higher. Dave?
I just want to say that we're presented with these worksheets for variances, and then we have the worksheets for alteration to a non-conforming structure. We don't have worksheets for fences. We don't have worksheets for signs, and I think these are problematic, and I keep saying every time the sign comes before us, I'd like to get some guidance from the planning staff for a new worksheet, because all these 5 items that we want to gauge by are in many cases irrelevant. I'm looking at this particular sign kind of like an alteration to a non-conforming structure versus a variance. You've got the existing building, they're not going outside of the footprint, so I want to be more easy with the giving them the variance, which I'm paralleling to an alteration to a non-conforming structure in terms of our zoning that we do. So I'm leaning towards, I don't see how they can lower it to our 20 feet in this case, and I would support this. And with their logic, basically, comparing it similar to an alteration to a non-conforming structure in terms of a lot of the zoning matters that we consider.
Mike?
I agree with Dave completely. The only thing I'll add is like, where this building is, it's so far off the street, this is not right up on a place where pedestrians are walking by, it's this big eyesore. It's set way back in the back of this plaza where people are only driving in here to go shop at these stores and not sort of just drive through Ann Arbor to see the beautiful aesthetics, right? And so everything Dave said would be enough for me, even if this was right on the street. But the fact that it's so far back off the street is, again, easy one for me.
Donna?
Yeah, I think the fact that they can't bring it down to the height without changing the whole facade, that's a practical difficulty in my mind that changes the whole thing, so I'll support the motion.
Any other discussion? You ready for a motion?
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
I hope I have the right one. ZBA 24-0014, 3645 Washington Avenue. In accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a 6'6.5" variance from Table 5.24-3, other mixed-use and non-residential and special purpose district permanent signs. The request of 8 feet 9 inches would allow a permanent wall sign to be installed above the maximum allowable height of 20 feet. The sign is to be installed per the submitted plans.
It should be 6 feet 6.5 inches.
Oh, whatever. Did I read the wrong one?
No, I may have messed that up. I'm not, I apologize.
Where is it?
A request of 6 feet 6.5 inches would allow a permanent wall sign.
That's what I read.
Oh, I thought you said 8 feet 9 inches.
Well,
is it 6?
Oh,
feet?
yes.
Yeah.
It did after that, the next sentence,
I'm sorry.
8 feet 9 inches.
It's 6.
So that should be 6 feet.
6 feet 6.5 inches.
Okay, so that's, that last sentence I'm changing.
Sorry, I apologize.
6 foot.
I didn't have enough coffee when I wrote that, or
6
something.
inches.
It was getting confusing between all these.
Would you like me to reread the whole thing?
No, I think it was, I think we just know that it's 6 feet 6.5 inches, rather than 8 feet 9 inches.
Okay, then I'm going to give this to Courtney, so she'll have a written corrected version.
We have a motion from Dave, support from Grace. Todd?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Dharma?
Yes.
Mike?
Sorry, wait, no,
No.
no, sorry.
No.
That's such a big smile.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
DeVarty, yes.
Christina?
Yes.
The request is granted.
Moving on to petition ZBA 24-0015, 3635 Washington Avenue. John?
Yes, 3635?
Yes.
Yeah. Kevin Dieters of Metro Detroit Signs, representing the business and property owners, is seeking a variance from Table 5.24-3, other mixed-use and non-residential and special purpose district permanent signs. The request of 8 feet 9 inches would allow a permanent wall sign to be installed above the maximum allowable height of 20 feet. The property is zoned C3 Fringe Commercial. The subject property is located at the northwest quadrant of Washington Avenue and Highway US 23 in the Arbor Lane Shopping Center. The center was constructed in 1991 and contains 5 buildings. The total square footage of the center is 407,374 square feet in area. The current tenant space is undergoing interior renovations, and the front facade is being altered as well. A new channel letter wall sign with the business name Marshall's is to be installed. The sign is 190 square feet in area. The sign is to be installed directly above the entrance doors at a height of 8 feet 9 inches above the maximum of 20 feet for a total of 28 feet 9 inches. The current sign ordinance was adopted in December of 2020. Turn your attention to the screen. Once again, subject property and the zoning maps highlighted corner of Washington US 23. Existing conditions of surrounding properties, aerial photo, and the zoomed in aerial photo. Next slide is a site plan showing the proposed Marshall's location between the Home Goods in the previous case and the Kroger. And this is the front elevation of what is being proposed with the variance of 8 feet 9 inches and what it would look like. And this is the approximately 190 square foot sign with 6 foot tall letters and 31 feet in length. And this is an example of the conforming sign 20 feet above the grade, and the applicant said the sign would be too low. This is what is existing out there at the location right now, which is to be changed or altered. So you see the difference between the proposed, what it would meet, and then existing.
Do you have a picture of the current construction of the new Marshalls?
I don't believe, it's getting ready to go under construction. It's not active right now, I don't believe.
Yeah, no, I don't think they...
When I was out there on April 4th, that's what it looked like.
Oh, but this is the old one at the end, closer to US 23, correct?
No, this is the one that's currently under consideration.
No, that's the old Marshalls.
Right.
So the old Marshalls will be between...
Oh, yes, you're right.
So
yeah, it's gonna move down. Yeah.
So it's going to move from near US 23 to nearer to Huron Parkway.
Yes.
Okay. And it's...
It's right there right now. Okay. And next to the Gardner White, and it's going right there.
Is it a brand new building?
No. It's just being renovated right now.
What does the renovated building look like?
I don't know. I don't have that picture.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, I'd like to know what the current facade is.
Will they show us where the placement of the sign would be?
Yeah, that's what it will look like.
That's the proposed facade with this large fascia and then the smaller doors right there.
But does the existing facade of that building have... It does not.
Dave?
So John, if you go back to the existing sign, Marshall sign, there's some architectural elements that aren't the words. Does the city consider those things on the left and right of the Marshalls to be part of the sign? Or are those just decorative iconography?
Yeah, that would be signage. That would not be considered signage.
Okay. So you don't add that to the square footage?
No. Does anyone know what what is this business right there? Or what's the business that's there now?
Oh, the Rally House.
So you got Rally House.
Rally House.
Rally House is right here?
Shirt store.
What's the business where the Marshalls is going to? Right now.
Marshall's is taking part of the old Bed Bath & Beyond space.
Bed Bath & Beyond.
Oh,
Two. Those
okay.
spaces before.
Okay, so it's the same as before.
Yeah.
So it's this one big tenant
It was all
space
Bed Bath & Beyond, now it's being split in two.
split in half. Okay, so it was the same as his existing, the previous facade.
So then they're building.
And then this is Rally House right here.
Yeah.
They're taking the bath portion.
Yeah, that's why it's so.
Any other questions for John? All right, if the petitioner would like, you may speak for 5 minutes.
Thank you for consideration of this, and I'll keep my comments brief. Given the statements that you made about the previous case, I think we can address some of the concerns that you have in terms of the placement of this side. Would like me to take into consideration that as part of the build-out here, Marshall's is adding an overhanging canopy, because all the other stores have a means to protect people coming in from inclement weather. And if the sign were to be installed at the 20-foot height, it would interfere with all of the supports for that canopy. And so what we're hoping to do is center it on that facade, which is look, once again, a much better looking or aesthetically pleasing placement on that facade.
Yeah, so if you see on the screen, the sign would interfere with these anchor supports right here. They're like, here's the new canopy with the like wire or metal brackets connecting to the wall. That's the request. And that's what it would look like.
Any questions for the petitioner?
So, I do.
Yeah, Dave.
So, you're saying that if you were at the 20-foot height, it would interfere with those anchors for the canopy. What's the minimum that you could raise that without interfering with those anchors? Because it looks like you could raise it a mere 2 feet and not interfere with those anchors.
Technically, I'd say you're correct. What I think is that you'll just look awkward. You won't be centered or justified in that space.
Some artists like it that way. I take art classes, by the way.
Todd.
And I think, as you had mentioned earlier, too, there were some comments in the previous case. This is a unique development in the city, and the fact that these buildings, this facade is several hundred feet back from the road, it does make it a lot easier for people and prospective clients that are coming in to see and identify where that is within the center. And I know the spirit of the ordinance is to try to stay within that 20-feet limitation, but these are unique, certainly unique facades relative to what other retail locations would be in a downtown environment or other parts of Vancouver.
Sir, I have a question. Am I correct in saying that the facade is entirely new construction, that the weather overhang is new construction, and the shape of the facade is new construction? Am I correct in saying that?
This Jay Wagner, I'm the construction manager. I'll take that question. It's a new facade that's built into the structure of the existing building. So it was designed around the existing steel and columns and supports that the building has. It's literally just a face that's put onto the structure. We only opened up the building as much as we could or needed to, for that matter, to add additional steel supports in to support the awning and to support the open entranceways for the doors. So we didn't build into the building. We just basically built onto the front face of the existing building.
Okay, thank you.
Can I follow up on that? Is the new facade already built, or is that still to be built?
It is built. When we submitted to the city for building permits, this was all approved, so we had no idea of the variance with the signage at that time. All of our steel was installed a couple of months ago, and the facade, if you drive past, I was just there today visiting the site, if you drive past now, you'll see that the facade is built out, and all the board is there. We're just waiting for weather to give us a couple of nice days in the arbor so we can apply the EVAs to it.
Sunday, I think it's going to be 80 degrees.
That'll be a great day.
Any other questions for the petitioners? All right, thank you. If there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this, now is your chance.
Again, just from landlord's view, totally support having the signage at the height that the rest of the complex is. It's built way back off of the road. Arbor land is just, it's different than a lot of the properties in Ann Arbor. We're further back from the road. It's a center that was just designed that way to be kind of a shopping center and a place, community place. So, you know, we're just looking to have some consistency there. Although it doesn't meet the current code, the consistency would be kept if we were allowed to put that up at the 28 feet.
Thank you. We did not receive any letters on this one as far as I recall. So with that, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. Dave?
I'm going to go back to my comparing this to a variance versus an alteration, and I see this more along the lines of a variance, which requires more of a more stringent meeting of our requirements. Since they put a new facade up there, they didn't have to make it as tall as they did. They, for their own feelings about what the visual dynamics are, they think that 2 feet up from it's not a minimum request, because he acknowledges that if he moved it up 2 feet, he would avoid those supports. And they can redesign the facade by putting some other visual effects like they did on their other Marshall sign up at the top, and reconfigure it in a way visually, as an artist might advise them to do, or I'm willing to consult for no charge, to make that look more in balance with a minimal request. And I want to note that here they're asking for 2 feet 3 inches more of a variance than in the last variance that we just granted. So they're asking for a bigger variance for this sign. I don't understand the rationale for that, because it sets a different baseline for this than it does for the home goods. I'm going to be voting against this one.
Picking up along what Dave said, I will also be voting no. So you're deemed to know what the zoning rules and regulations are. This construction was started after the zoning change was passed by City Council. They were legally burdened with knowing this. The fact that they didn't, that's not the city's problem. I think this really falls under the condition that it's a self-imposed practical difficulty. They weren't presented with a fait accompli on the facade, as in the case of the old Bed Bath & Beyond sign position. This was a new facade they decided to build from scratch of their own choosing, and they had put themselves in this position, and they shouldn't receive an exception from the new signing ordinance because of that. I would also say of all business signs, what businesses really want is a 50-foot sign with spotlights and blaring music and flashing lights. But most people come to Arborland knowing what they're looking for and where they're going to go. They're not driving by, as somebody, I think maybe Dave said earlier, looking for a scenic store and seeing to pull in. So the signage is really secondary. You know it's in the mall somewhere, and a sign that's up to 20 feet above the pavement and long and stretch out is going to be plenty noticed. And I just don't think it meets the criteria. The main one being the difference in how they were presented with the facade, and this is, ironically, I think, unintentional, but a self-imposed difficulty.
Any other discussion? Christina? Just that I'm in general alignment with the points that Todd and Dave just made, so I'll be voting no, because I think that there are options, again, to not go with the proposed. Thank you.
And I'll just say very quickly that I agree. With that, I think we're, oh, yeah.
I'll just say I accidentally voted no on the last one.
But you have to vote yes.
Getting ahead of myself.
It was granted
It's
anyway,
unpredictable. It's a long meeting. So I'm ready for a motion.
Yes, thank you, Dave.
ZBA 24-0015, 3635 Washtenaw Avenue. In accordance with the established standards for approval, the zoning board of appeals hereby grants an 8-foot 9-inch variance from table 5.24-3, other mixed-use and non-residential and special purpose district permanent signs. The request of 8 feet 9 inches would allow a permanent wall sign to be installed above the maximum allowable height of 20 feet. The sign is to be installed per the submitted plans.
A motion, do I have support?
Support.
Thank you, Dharma. Mike?
No.
Dave?
Divided, no.
Christina?
No.
Todd?
No.
Grace? No. I also vote no. Dharma?
No.
The request is denied. Moving on to unfinished business, we have none. New business, reports from council. Dharma? All right, that's easy then. Communications, I believe we addressed all of the letters of support and objection that we received. So, public comment. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak to the ZBA on any matter whatsoever, now's your chance. Seeing no one here that's left, if there's anyone remotely, please press star 9 or use the raise hand button.
There are no comments.
Thank you, Courtney. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Dharma. Lori?
No vote.
Todd? From everybody? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
I feel bad that I was the last meeting.
Dharma was
Everybody was sick.
Yeah.